Chapter 1 The Four Princes. In the city of Ayodhya, within the kingdom of Kosala, ruled a king named Dasharatha. Dasharatha was a wise and just king. He was the descendant of the mighty Sun dynasty. However, the king had no heirs, despite having 3 queens, and it appeared that his lineage would come to an end with him. The king consulted sage Shringi, and he was guided to perform a great yagna, a sacred ritual. The gods were pleased, and from the flames emerged Agnidev, the god of fire, who offered a bowl of nectar to the king, promising that his queens, once consuming the nectar, would bear sons destined for greatness. The king excitedly returned to the palace to share the nectar with the queens. Queen Sumitra was late to the gathering, so the 2 queens split their share for her. Soon, Dasharatha's 3 queens, Kausalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra, gave birth to 4 sons. Kausalya bore the eldest, Rama. Bharata was born to Kaikeyi. Sumitra, the queen who received the 2 pieces of nectar, gave birth to twins, Lakshmana and Shatrughna. The king and the people of Ayodhya rejoiced. As the princes grew, their divine virtues shone through. They were intelligent, kind, compassionate, and brave. They were adored by the citizens of Ayodhya. Rama, the eldest of the brothers, especially stood out. It was clear to his mother, Kausalya, that he was no ordinary child, and one day she saw in him the universal form. The princes attended school at the ashram of Guru Vashishta, where they were educated in religion, state duties, moral values, politics, philosophy, administration, and societal matters. When they returned to Ayodhya, they were further educated in the arts of war, so that they could defend their kingdom. The princes developed into formidable warriors, with Rama showing skill beyond any his teachers had ever seen. For a time, the brothers lived in peace in the city of Ayodhya, assisting their father with state matters. But one day, a sage arrived at the palace, bringing grim news that would forever change the life of the 16-year-old Rama and his brother Lakshmana. Chapter 2 Tataka. Sage Vishwamitra had arrived at the royal court of King Dasharatha. He was visibly upset. "My king, the demons have been making our life difficult. They have been desecrating our yagnas, holy ceremonies, defiling our fires in the crucial final stages." The king immediately committed his support. "We shall send our greatest army units out to destroy the demons," said the king. But the king's offer was rejected by the sage. "Your soldiers are no match for these demons. They will kill them all. Only your son Rama might be able to defeat them. He must come with me now." The king turned pale. His son was just a boy. He had no battle experience. But the sage insisted, and on consultation with his advisors, the king eventually relented. Rama, although young, accepted the challenge with grace, and his brother Lakshmana, inseparable since early childhood, insisted on joining him. The 2 princes, guided by the sage, set off into the dark forest. These forests were once sacred lands, now ravaged by terrifying demons, led by the demoness Tataka. Vishwamitra explained the background of Tataka. There was once a yaksha, a supernatural being, named Suketu, who had no children. Craving for children, he performed a yagna. He was blessed by Lord Brahma, who said Suketu would have a daughter who would have the strength of 1,000 elephants. That child was Tataka. When Tataka grew up, she was married and had 2 sons. However, over time she became cruel, and the husband was killed by a sage's curse. Enraged, Tataka went with her son Marich to kill the sage. The sage cursed them to become Rakshasas, and Tataka to become a repulsive cannibal. From then on, Tataka became a ferocious demon who destroyed the beautiful land that had once been prosperous. Rama felt unease at having to fight a woman. Sage Vishvamitra counseled the brothers, "Do not have compassion or disgust for killing an enemy that is unrighteous, be it man or woman." Rama twanged his bow, making a thunderous sound. The sound drew Tataka out of her lair. The demoness stormed towards them with eyes burning like fire. Rama and Lakshmana fended off the demoness, but still held back from killing her. Even with her arms and legs impaled by Ram's arrows, and her nose and ears cut by Lakshman, Tataka continued to attack the trio with her dark sorcery. Rama then understood the killing of Tataka as uttamam, an eminently justifiable action. He released a final deadly arrow, and the demoness Tataka was released from her malevolent existence. But Tataka's death would not be without consequences. Chapter 3. Demon War. Sage Vishvamitra was delighted with the bravery and skill shown by the young princes. Rama had managed to defeat the demoness Tataka, a feat that many before him had failed at. The next day, the sage gifted Rama with over 100 astras and shastras. He excitedly named and described each of them. The astras were weapons summoned or charged by mantras. The shastras were various swords, maces, and spears. Vishvamitra taught Rama how to shoot divyastras and how to withdraw them. He also taught Rama and Lakshman 2 mantras, Bala and Atibala. These mantras would give them the power to overcome hunger, sleep, and fatigue. With the princes suitably armed and prepared, the trio proceeded to Sage Vishvamitra's ashram. The next yagna planned would be a 6-day and 6-night ceremony. The 2 princes stood guard while the sages performed the sacred rituals. With the use of Vishvamitra's mantra, they required neither sleep nor food. On the 6th night, the demons attacked with full force, led by the sons of Tataka. Marich and Subahu rained down foul substances to desecrate the sanctity of the yagna. Ram used one of the astras gifted to him to protect the sacred fires. The brothers then began their counterattack. The demons seemed innumerable and attacked in waves. Ram skillfully deployed an array of the astras, beating back the demon army. He aimed an astra towards Marich, and with it flung him hundreds of miles away to the ocean. With another powerful astra, Rama killed the demon Subahu. The brothers then fought off the remaining demons, eventually causing all of them to flee in terror. The yagna was completed successfully, and Sage Vishvamitra was delighted. His faith in the brothers was richly rewarded. "You have kept the honor of Sudashrama, the hermitage of accomplishment, and because of you, the sacred yagna was finally completed." The brothers spent the night in the hermitage, and the next day, the sages invited the brothers to accompany them to the kingdom of Mithila, where King Janak was conducting a Swayamvara, a groom-choosing ceremony for his daughter. Once more, Rama's life would be changed forever. Chapter 4. Sita. Vishvamitra, Rama, Lakshman, and several of the sages set off for the kingdom of Mithila. The king was having a Swayamvara, which was a grand ceremony to choose a groom for the king's daughter. Kings, sages, and dignitaries from far and wide would visit the kingdom to join in the festivities and sacred ceremonies. Sage Vishvamitra related the story of King Janak's daughter to the princes. The king had discovered her while plowing a field as part of his sacred ritual, and he had adopted her as his daughter. She was born from a furrow in the earth, which is why her name comes from the Sanskrit word for furrow, Sita. The king wanted a worthy husband for his beloved daughter, and he set a test for any potential suitors. The Shiva Dhanush, the bow of Shiva, had belonged to the family of King Janaka for generations. It was an exceptionally heavy bow. The test for any suitor was to be able to lift and bend the bow to string it. None had been able to complete the task, with many of the princes and kings not even being able to lift the bow, much less string it. It was kept in a box with 8 wheels. According to some legends, King Janak was inspired to set the test when he once saw Sita as a child lifting the bow to retrieve a ball she had accidentally dropped into the box. When Rama and Lakshmana arrived in Mithila with the sages, word of the 2 valiant and handsome princes spread in the kingdom. The sages and the princes were invited to the palace, and on the request of sage Vishvamitra, King Janak was asked to show them the bow. The box, which contained the Shiva Dhanush, was brought into the palace chamber, pulled by several of the king's guards. To the amazement of those of the king's court present, Rama, the prince of Ayodhya, opened the box, effortlessly lifted the bow, and bent it to string it. The citizens of Mithila heard a sound like thunder which shook the earth. The bow had broken with the power of Prince Rama's pull. At first, the attendees remained in stunned silence, which then gave way to the exuberance of the king. King Janaka was amazed and overjoyed. He had finally found a worthy husband for his daughter, and he excitedly ordered the arrangements for Sita's wedding. But the thunder of Lord Shiva's breaking bow had attracted the attention of a Brahmin warrior, and he was not pleased. Chapter 5. Parashurama. The Brahmin warrior Parashurama, drawn by the sound of Lord Shiva's bow breaking, entered the royal chambers. He was furious upon seeing the broken bow. Who is responsible for this? The Brahmin demanded to know. Parashurama was a Lord Shiva devotee and known as the 6th avatar of Lord Vishnu. From time to time, Lord Vishnu would incarnate into human form to restore the balance of justice over injustice. During the time of Parashurama, the Kshatriyas, the class of warriors, had become exceptionally cruel and had killed his father, Jamadagni. In a furious rampage, Parashurama had killed all the male Kshatriyas on earth 21 times over to avenge the murder of his father. He was famous for his skills in warfare, particularly his proficiency with the axe. Rama stepped forward in response to Parashurama's question. "It was I, Rama, who broke the bow," replied the prince. A chilling silence filled the air as Parashurama approached Rama, his eyes blazing with fury. But then confusion set in as Parashurama assessed the slender, serene youth before him. It was Parashurama's responsibility to put an end to any warrior who could become a threat to the land. But is it possible that it was mere chance that this young prince was able to break the Shiva bow? Parashurama handed over his own mighty Vishnu bow to Rama with a challenge. "Prove your worth by stringing this bow, young prince." Without hesitation, Rama took the bow and effortlessly strung it. A dawn of realization came over the Brahmin warrior, as his eyes widened with amazement and recognition. Chapter 6. 4 brides for 4 princes. Parashurama's anger abated as he saw the young prince Rama effortlessly string the Vishnu bow. The prince's true nature became apparent to the Brahmin warrior. In that moment of divine revelation, Parashurama surrendered his fury, realizing that his duty and the purpose of his avatar were fulfilled. He bowed in reverence to Prince Rama and announced his departure to the mountains, much to the relief of the assembled members of the court. According to scriptures, Parashurama will appear again at the end of the Kali Yuga to be the Guru of Kalki, Lord Vishnu's 10th and final incarnation. Ram's victory marked the beginning of a grand celebration. Preparations for the wedding of Ram and Sita were underway, and soon King Dasharatha arrived in Mithila to bless the union. It was a joyous occasion, not only for Rama and Sita, but also for Ram's brothers. Bharat was married to Sita's cousin, Mandavi. Lakshman was married to her sister, Umila, and Shatrughan to her cousin, Shutkati. Rama, Sita, and their families returned to Ayodhya amidst joyous celebrations. Over time, Rama and Sita's love deepened even further, and they became inseparable, just as Lord Vishnu is inseparable from Goddess Lakshmi. In the royal courts, Rama proved himself to be an outstanding leader. He was the epitome of wisdom, humility, and compassion. He mastered all weapons, all statecraft, and all spiritual self-discipline. He was loved by members of the court and citizens alike. King Dasharatha looked upon Rama with pride. With his advanced age, he would soon need to name a successor, and Ram held all the qualities necessary for a wise king. But the king would not make this decision alone, lest he be biased in his opinion. He held many consultations with his advisors and members of the royal court to ensure he considered all possible candidates as his successor. Consultations with advisors and court members unanimously pointed to Rama as the ideal heir. But many of these consultations were overheard by a member of the royal household, and in her heart grew resentment and anger. Chapter 7. Kaikeyi. King Dasharatha, pleased with the decision of his court to appoint Ram as the successor to the throne, instructed them to proceed with preparations for the royal coronation. The king then returned to his chambers. He was surprised when he saw his queen Kaikeyi in a disarray. Tears streamed down the queen's face. Kaikeyi was the mother of Prince Bharat. Her son was away visiting his maternal uncle in the city of Kaikeyi. King Dasharatha was very concerned. Of his 3 queens, Kaikeyi held an especially dear place in his heart. "What is wrong, my dear? What has upset you so?" Kaikeyi seemed inconsolable, and the king desperately asked what he could do to alleviate her sorrow. In the time leading up to this incident, Queen Kaikeyi was visited by her family servant Manthara. The handmaiden had looked after Kaikeyi since her birth, continuing to do so even after Kaikeyi's marriage, where she moved into the royal palace. The news of Rama about to be named as royal heir greatly upset Manthara. In her mind, Prince Bharat, the son of Kaikeyi, and the child she looked upon as her own grandson, should be the next king. Manthara filled the naive queen's mind with fear and doubts. "Once Rama is king, you will have no place in the palace. Queen Kausalya will be the royal mother, and you and your son will be sent away." At first, Kaikeyi resisted. She loved Rama, as most of those in the kingdom did. But as Manthara argued and persuaded, she finally accepted the handmaiden's point of view. Kaikeyi had 2 boons, wishes, granted to her by the king when she had once rescued him in a battle and nursed him back to health. Now was the time for her to use them. In reply to the king's question as to how he could console her, she responded, "I wish to use the 2 boons you have granted me. My first wish is for our son Bharat to be appointed king, and my second wish is that Prince Rama be sent into 14 years of exile." King Dasharatha's face went pale with shock and horror. Chapter 8. Exile. King Dasharatha was horrified by Queen Kaikeyi's request. He desperately tried to persuade the queen to retract her wishes. However, the queen was adamant in her decision, and the king was honor bound to fulfill the boons he granted to her. Manthara, the queen's handmaiden, had planted seeds of insecurity, fear, and jealousy into the mind of Kaikeyi. The handmaiden knew that Prince Rama was loved by members of the court and citizens alike. It was not enough that the queen's son, Bharat, be named king instead of Rama. Rama had to be sent away so that Prince Bharat could win the hearts and minds of the people of the kingdom without the constant reminder of the king that could have been. Heartbroken, King Dasharatha finally accepted his queen's decision, and he sent for Prince Rama. The king informed Rama of Kaikeyi's demands and the boons granted to her. Rama would be exiled to the forest to live the life of an ascetic for 14 years, and Bharat would take his place on the throne. Prince Rama was taken aback, but his response surprised the king. "Father, the king's word should always be kept, and it is my duty as a son to do whatever I can to ensure this." Prince Lakshmana was not so understanding when he found out the news. He was furious and threatened destruction on the entire kingdom, including his father, for this injustice. Rama calmed his fiery brother and reiterated his commitment to fulfilling his duty to upholding his father's word. Sita and Lakshmana refused to let Rama face this trial alone, choosing instead to accompany him into the wilderness. As they departed, the kingdom of Ayodhya fell into deep sorrow, and Dasharath's heart shattered with grief. Rama, Sita, and Lakshman began their journey into the unknown forests, far from the comforts of their royal life. Their days were filled with challenges, from battling wild beasts to navigating treacherous terrains, yet the forest also held beauty. The trio found peace in their simple existence. However, danger was never far behind. A demoness roaming the forest found herself enchanted by the handsome Prince Rama, and desired him for her own. Chapter 9. Surpanakha. During the time that Rama spent in exile, King Dasharath went into a deep depression and died from a broken heart. Upon returning to Ayodhya, Prince Bharat was devastated to learn of his mother Kaikeyi's role in the tragedy and the exile of his brother. Overwhelmed by guilt, Bharat rejected the throne and set off to bring Rama back to assume his rightful place as king. However, when Bharat found his brother and broke the news of their father's passing, Rama was saddened, but remained resolute in his decision to honor his father's promise. He would complete his 14 years of exile as an ascetic, as per the conditions of Queen Kaikeyi. Prince Bharat insisted that he would rule Ayodhya only as Rama's regent. He returned to the kingdom with Rama's slippers and placed it upon the throne as a symbol of his brother's imminent return as king. Meanwhile, the handsome Prince Rama attracted the attention of a Rakshasi who roamed the forest searching for a suitable husband. Surpanakha's natural form was repulsive, but she used her demoness power to assume the shape of a beautiful and seductive woman. The demoness approached Rama and professed her love for him. "Dear prince, you have captured my heart. Become my husband, and you can leave this miserable existence behind." Rama was amused by the impetuous Rakshasi. "Dear lady, I am flattered by your request. However, I cannot accept, as I am already married, and my heart belongs to Princess Sita alone." Surpanakha looked upon the beautiful Sita, and her eyes flashed with a deep jealousy and hatred. Undeterred, she turned her attention to Prince Lakshman. "Very well then, you shall be my husband instead," she said to Lakshman. Lakshman also rebuffed her advances. "I am merely my brother's servant, and as such, I would not be worthy to be your husband." Humiliated and enraged, Surpanakha directed her fury at the beautiful Sita. She revealed her demoness form and lunged at Sita in a murderous frenzy, her outstretched razor-like claws ready to rip the princess to pieces. Lakshman reacted quickly to protect Sita, slashing at the demoness with the blade of one of his arrows. Surpanakha screamed in pain and held her face. She realized the prince had sliced off her nose. She screeched off in agony, but this encounter was just the beginning of a much more violent confrontation to come. Chapter 10. Attack of the Rakshasas. Surpanakha, spurned by the royal princes Ram and Lakshman, and mutilated when she attempted to attack the Princess Sita, retreated to the abode of her brother Kara. Kara was the governor of the Dandaka kingdom, which was a kingdom of Rakshasas in the middle of the Dandaka forest. He was shocked at the appearance of his sister. Surpanakha related a twisted version of her encounter with the two princes, infuriating Kara and spurring him to send 14 of his fiercest warriors to go kill the brothers. Ram and Lakshman had prepared for a retaliation after the encounter with Surpanakha. They easily dispatched the 14 demon warriors. When news of his warriors' defeat reached Kara, he was enraged. He mobilized 14,000 of his demon army and set off in the direction of the royal princes. The thunderous sound of the approaching army forewarned Rama and Lakshman. Rama donned his battle armor and asked Lakshman to take Sita to a safe place. Lakshman and Sita took refuge in a nearby cave as Ram prepared himself to engage the enemy. The demon army was armed with ferocious weapons such as spears, maces, battle axes, and tridents. Each Rakshasa was large and strong. They were surprised to find Prince Rama facing them alone. He was armed with the Vishnu bow and 2 inexhaustible quivers. Ram was also armed with the knowledge of various astras and shastras. Like a dark ocean, the swarm of demons shrieked and fell upon Rama. They attacked him with their weapons, shattering Ram's armor and piercing and bruising his body. Fearlessly, Rama released thousands of arrows. These arrows shredded the enemy's weapons into pieces. They pierced the demons and flung them away. Shrieks from the demons filled the air. The outraged Rakshasas then began to hurl rocks upon Rama. Like Lord Shiva in full fury, Ram released the Gandhava Astra. With the power of this weapon, the demons collapsed in multitudes. At one shot, he killed 10,000 demons. The Gandhava Astra also created illusions among the enemy. They saw Ram everywhere they looked and began to fight each other. 12 army generals attacked Rama. Ram destroyed all of them. Another 100 demons fell upon Rama. Rama's weapons flung them through the air. In desperation, another 1,000 demons attacked Ram. The prince released 1,000 arrows from his bow, vanquishing all of them. Seeing this, the remaining demons fled in terror. In less than an hour and a half, Ram had decimated the Rakshasa army. Finally, only Kara remained. Prince Ram cut him down with a single arrow. A stillness filled the air as the battle came to an end. But word of this glorious battle quickly reached many miles away to a distant land called Lanka, and to its king, Ravana. Chapter 11. Ravana. The news of Prince Rama's single-handed victory over a 14,000-strong Rakshasa army spread like wildfire, quickly reaching the ear of the demon king of Lanka. Ravana was the eldest son of the Brahmin sage Vishrava and the Rakshasa princess Kaikeyi. Sage Vishrava was famous for his mastery of tapas, an austere self-disciplined practice through meditation. With his first wife, Ilavida, Vishrava sired a son who eventually came to be known as Kubera, the Lord of Wealth and ruler of Lanka. Seeing this, the Rakshasa Somali urged his daughter Kaikeyi to seek Vishrava as her husband, promising her that their children would rival Kubera. Kaikeyi found Vishrava and informed him of her father's wish for her to wed him. Vishrava agreed to the beautiful maiden's request, but he warned her that due to her Rakshasic nature, their first 3 children would be demonic. Only the last child would inherit his sagely disposition. Kaikeyi's first child was Vishravana, who would later come to be known as Ravana. Her second son was Kumbhakana, her third the demoness Surpanakha, and the last child a son named Vibhishana. As Vishrava predicted, the fourth child, Vibhishana, was Brahmanic in nature. Ravana, the eldest child, was ambitious and quickly gained strength and power. He was taught the scriptures by his father and was extremely knowledgeable in the Vedas and Puranas. Ravana even impressed Lord Shiva with his dedication and received an invincible sword as a gift. He performed an exceptionally severe penance to gain a boon from Lord Brahma. The gods could grant any wish short of immortality. Ravana instead asked for invincibility in battle against gods, demons, heavenly spirits, serpents, and wild beasts. Ravana's list went on, but curiously he failed to mention humans, thinking the species insignificant. Over time, Ravana waged many battles and conquered many lands, even forcing his half-brother Kubera to cede the kingship of Lanka to him. But Ravana's ambitions knew no boundaries. He was consumed by lust, greed, and wrath, eventually threatening the domain of the gods themselves, and defeating Lord Indra himself in battle. The gods approached Lord Vishnu for assistance. Ravana's boon made him near undefeatable, but Lord Vishnu proposed a plan. Chapter 12. Sinister Schemes. By the time Surpanakha returned to Lanka, Ravana was fully aware of the feats of Prince Rama. His sister's appearance infuriated him. An attack on his family was an insult to him. But Ravana had held off on retaliating against Prince Rama. His boon of invincibility did not protect him against humans, and this human had single-handedly destroyed an army of 14,000 Rakshasas, a feat previously unheard of. Surpanakha chastised her brother. "You have grown soft in your palace, with your many comforts and pleasures. In times past, you would not have hesitated to destroy an enemy that dared challenge your authority." Ravana listened to Surpanakha's version of her encounter with the two princes, Ram and Lakshman. But what captured his attention was her description of Rama's wife, Sita. Surpanakha noticed this and continued her account of Sita's unmatched beauty. And the more Ravana heard, the more he desired Sita for his own. Surpanakha proposed the capturing of Sita for Ravana. Rama's love for Sita was unmatched, and the loss of her would throw him into despair and thus weaken him for Ravana's attack. Ravana liked the idea, and he traveled to meet a demon that had previously faced the prince. Marich had fought Prince Rama years ago when the prince was still a teenager, and he had barely escaped with his life. Unlike other demons with more limited ability, Marich had the power to shapeshift into any creature he desired. Ravana relayed his plan to Marich. The demon would take on the form of a wondrous animal to attract the attention and desire of the princess, and then lure the princess away so that Ravana could take Sita by force. Marich was outraged at the plan. "Forget her, Ravana. Go back to your palace. Enjoy the pleasures of your many wives and mistresses. To incur the wrath of Prince Rama is to court death itself." But Ravana's mind was set, and his request of assistance from Marich turned into a threatening command. "I am the king of Lanka, and all that I desire shall be mine. Even death itself fears me." Marich reluctantly accepted, and the demons set off to execute their sinister plan. Chapter 13. The Seduction of Sita. One day, while walking in the forest, Sita spotted an extraordinary deer. It was unlike anything she had ever seen before. Sita was overcome with a desire to possess the beautiful creature. "Ram, please capture that beautiful deer for me. It would be wonderful to take it back to Ayodhya when we return." Ram was confused when he saw the deer. It had golden fur. Its spots glistened like diamonds. Its antlers were magnificent, the most perfect creature he had ever seen. Lakshman was immediately suspicious. Such beauty is unnatural. This must be some Rakshasa trick. But Sita was entranced by the wonder of the creature and remained adamant that the deer must be hers. Ram, the dutiful husband, would do anything to bring joy to Sita. He calmed Lakshman. "I will capture the deer. If it is indeed a devious Raksha, then I will slay it. You will remain here with Sita until I return." Ram set off in pursuit of the deer, and in response the deer ran faster and deeper into the forest, luring Ram further and further away from Lakshman and Sita. As Ram continued his pursuit, his suspicion grew. The creature was much too fast, much too elusive. After much time in pursuit, Ram eventually released an arrow in the direction of the deer. The arrow struck true, forcing the creature to transform back to its true form, the Rakshasa Marich. With his dying breath, the demon called out with the voice of Ram, "Lakshman, Sita!" Ram stood over the demon's body and wondered why he had called out Lakshman and Sita's name before he died. A sense of dread overcame Ram, and he turned and hurried back to their home. Back at the forest dwelling, Sita and Lakshman heard the anguished voice of Ram calling out their names. Sita was terrified and turned to Lakshman. "Ram is in trouble. You need to go help him." Lakshman was not concerned. "This is some Rakshasa trick. I was instructed by Ram to remain here and protect you. Ram is more than capable of handling any danger by himself." But now, Sita was overcome by feelings of fear, guilt, and anger. She had asked Ram to capture the deer for her, and now her beloved might be in great danger. And all of these emotions now turned to fury, directed at Lakshman. Chapter 14. The Abduction of Sita. Sita, hearing the anguished voice of Ram calling out from the forest, turned to Lakshman and insisted he go out to help his brother. When Lakshman, suspecting a Rakshasa trick, remained unmoved, Sita was furious. "You will not help your brother when he is in need? I have seen the way you look at me. Secretly, you desire Ram to be killed so that you can have me for yourself." Lakshman was shocked and hurt by the accusation. He looked upon his older brother Ram as his father, and as such, Sita as his mother. But Sita continued her tirade against him. Blinded by fear and desperation, she would say or do anything to get Lakshman to go out and bring her husband back safely. Incensed, Lakshman finally agreed to go find Ram, but before he left, he drew a protective circle around the cottage. Lakshman then darted off into the forest to find his brother. Sometime after he left, Sita was visited by an elderly Brahmin. Brahmins passing by in the forest would occasionally stop by and ask for food. Sita was nervous, being alone. She was usually accompanied by either Ram or Lakshman. However, refusing a Brahmin's request for food would not only be inhospitable, but also lead to great misfortune on the ones denying the request. The trio was close to the end of their exile. Her husband was in possible danger. The last thing that Sita wanted now was to offend the Brahmin and incur his wrath. She went inside to prepare some food and brought it out to the Brahmin. The Brahmin, sitting on a rock just outside the cottage, insisted she bring the meal to him. "I am weak from hunger, child. Bring the food to me." Sita's mind was a storm. Worry for Ram, guilt over the harsh words she had directed at Lakshman. Without thinking, she stepped over the line of protection that Lakshman had drew. A monstrous laugh shook the forest as the demon king of Lanka dropped his disguise and ensnared the beautiful princess. Drunk with power and glee over his triumph, Ravana thundered, "You are mine, beautiful one, now and forever." Sita's screams echoed out and attracted the attention of a bird perched on a nearby tree. But this was no ordinary bird. This was Jatayu, the king of vultures. Chapter 15. Lanka. Overjoyed at having gained his prize, Ravana dragged the Princess Sita to his Vamana, a flying vehicle. The Vamana took off into the air, and Sita looked down in terror as the ground moved further and further away. But Sita's screams attracted the attention of a noble creature, Jatayu, the king of vultures. Jatayu flew up to the craft and saw the terrified Sita and the malevolent Ravana. Instinctively, the noble bird attacked the demon king, cutting into the demon's flesh with his razor-sharp talons. But the bird was no match for Ravana. The king of Lanka cut off his wing and sent the bird hurtling down towards the forest floor, many miles below. Tears streamed down Sita's face as Jatayu fell, and her home disappeared into the distance. She desperately thought of how she might send signs to Ram and Lakshman of her dire predicament. Sita's heart sank even further as the sight of land then disappeared, and the craft soared over the ocean. After some time, Ravana's craft arrived at the city of Lanka. The demon king's demeanor turned much more pleasant and charming as he proudly showed off his kingdom to the princess. Situated on a golden island in the midst of the ocean, the city shimmered with palaces adorned with precious gems, walls inlaid with gold, and towering spires that reached towards the heavens. The streets were lined with lush gardens filled with exotic flowers. Massive gates, guarded by fierce Rakshasas, led to the heart of the city, where Ravana's opulent palace loomed, a fortress of dazzling splendor. Silver staircases wound through halls of polished marble, and intricate carvings of divine beings and legendary battles decorated the walls. The city was alive with the sounds of drums and conch shells, the chants of sages, and the roars of demons preparing for war. Bridges of gold arched over flowing rivers, and chariots drawn by magical beasts glided through the air. Despite its beauty, Lanka held an air of foreboding. Beneath its enchanting facade lay a kingdom ruled by fear, ambition, and Ravana's unchallenged might. As the demon king's craft descended into his palace, and they stepped out into the marble courtyard, Ravana raised his arms and professed his love to the Princess Sita. "Princess, I watched you from afar, and have fallen madly in love with you. Marry me, and you will be queen of all that you see." Chapter 16. The Anguish of Ram. Ram was running back towards his forest home. His heart was beating much faster than it usually would. A sense of dread had overcome him. As he turned a bend in the path, his eyes widened in shock. "Lakshman, what are you doing here? I had asked you to remain with Sita." Lakshman related his argument with Sita after they had heard Ram's voice call out for help. "I assured Sita that this must be a Rakshasa trick, that you would be able to handle any danger on your own. But she had lost all sense, and even accused me of wanting you to perish, so that I can have her to myself." Ram chided his younger brother as he continued to run back to their cottage. "You let your emotions overcome your reason. My instructions were clear. You were to remain at home and protect Sita." Lakshman was upset, but he composed himself as he followed his brother. Ram's heart sank even further as he returned home and Sita was nowhere to be found. The ground indicated signs of a struggle. Ram and Lakshman spread out in search of Sita. Ram went from tree to tree calling out Sita's name. He hoped that she was merely out collecting food or flowers or playing a game with them. But deep within, he knew that something terrible had befallen his beloved. A retaliation for his destruction of the Rakshasa forces was inevitable, and now it appears that Sita may have paid the price. Ram and Lakshman continued to search for hours. Ram screamed out Sita's name until his voice was hoarse. His fear turned to rage as he screamed out threats to the mountains, demons, and gods to return his wife. Then, his rage turned to anguish as tears streamed down the prince's face. He resolved that he would not be able to live without Sita. "Go back to Ayodhya, Lakshman. Tell Bharat that he should continue his rule. Without Sita, all of life is meaningless. What worth is a kingdom without my wife at my side?" This time, it was Lakshman's turn to counsel his brother. "Ram, such despair does not become you. I accept my blame for my neglect of duty, but you are a warrior and a monarch. We must not abandon hope. We will find Sita." Ram calmed his emotions and steadied himself. Then, out of the corner of his eye, something in the forest caught his attention. Chapter 17. The Torment of Sita. Sita had observed as the Demon King proudly showed off his kingdom. She listened in disdain as Ravana declared his love for her and brazenly proposed marriage. I am a married woman, king of Lanka, and my heart belongs to Ram alone. He is a warrior of unmatched strength, kind, compassionate, yet as fearless as a lion. My devotion is his alone. The gap between you and the Prince of Ayodhya is as vast as that between a stream and an ocean, iron and gold, a crow and an eagle. You, a mere jackal, dare to claim a lioness? Winning my affection is as impossible as grasping sunlight, or lifting a mountain with bare hands. You chase your own destruction, like a fool walking into fire. Ravana was greatly insulted by Sita's words. His fury boiled over as he raised his fist. But then he hesitated. There was a time when Ravana would have taken any woman he desired by force. But his past sinful actions had incurred curses upon him from both Lord Brahma and his own nephew, Nalakover. Now, if he forced himself on any woman against her will, his head would shatter into 100 pieces. Sita was unaware of this divine protection, but Ravana had other means to coerce his prey. First, he tried to tempt her. He showed Sita all the wonders of his kingdom that would be hers if she accepted him. You will be my chief queen above all others. Any jewels, luxuries, or pleasures you desire will be yours. Maidens will serve you night and day. Lanka will bow before you. But Sita was unmoved by Ravana's seductions. She remained steadfast in her commitment to Dharma. Seeing his enticements fail, Ravana turned to malevolence. He cast Sita into a secluded grove, guarded by fearsome Rakshasas, demonesses who tormented her relentlessly. By day, they threatened to devour her. By night, they whispered of the comfort and safety she could have, if only she accepted Ravana. Yet, though weary and despairing, the princess of Mithila did not yield. She sat beneath the great Asoka tree, her thoughts consumed by Ram. With each passing day, her hope waned. How could her beloved ever find her across the vast ocean? But far away in the forest, Ram and Lakshman stumbled upon something that would bring them one step closer to finding her. Chapter 18. South. Ram and Lakshman stood over the mortally wounded Jatayu. With his dying breath, he related to the brothers the abduction of Sita by the demon king Ravana. I tried to save her, my prince, but I am not as strong as I used to be in my youth. Ravana cut off my wing. As I fell to the ground, I saw the Vamana fly off to the south. With these final words, Jatayu's spirit left his body. Ram was deeply saddened. Jatayu was a dear friend to his father King Dasharath. But Ram's spirits were raised by the heroic action of the Vulture King. Now, he had three crucial pieces of information. 1. Sita was alive. 2. Her abductor was the demon king Ravana. And 3. The direction she was taken. The brothers performed the last rites for Jatayu, and then continued their journey south. After some time on their travel, they were attacked by a Rakshasa named Kaband. Kaband was a grotesque creature. His head and thighs were sunken into his body. He had one eye on his chest and a ravenous mouth on his stomach. His arms were long and strong. After a fierce battle, the brothers cut off his arms, and Ram brought the creature down with an arrow. As the Rakshasa fell, he assumed his true form as a Gandharva, a heavenly musician. He related to the princes the curse he had endured as a result of his past misdeeds. Thank you, Lord Ram, for freeing me of this monstrous form. Ram asked the Gandharva if he knew the location of Sita. I do not, my lord, but I advise you to seek out Sugriv, the banished king of the Vanaras. Sugriv is wise and has travelled far and wide. He would be the best person to help you. Following the Gandharva's guidance, Ram and Lakshman journeyed south for months. As spring arrived, Ram gazed at the lotus-filled lakes, their beauty evoking memories of Sita. Though heartsore, He pressed on until they reached the mountains where Sugriv lived. The Monkey King spotted the two strangers approaching. He was suspicious. The strangers were dressed as Brahmins, but they were powerfully built and carried weapons. He turned to a figure in the shadows behind him. "Go and meet the two strangers. Find out if they are assassins sent by my brother." A mighty ape-like figure stepped forward, ready to fulfill his king's command. His name was Hanuman. Chapter 19. Hanuman. Ram and Lakshman watched as a powerful figure approached them. Although striking an imposing presence, there was a calmness about him. "Greetings, friends. What brings you to our humble abode?" "We seek the assistance of the Monkey King, Sugriv," replied Ram. Ram and Lakshman related the tale of Sita's abduction by the demon king Ravana and their quest to find her. Hearing this, Hanuman's eyes gleamed with wonder. "Ah, yes, Lord Ram. We have heard the legendary tale of the exiled Prince of Ayodhya and his devoted wife and brother, who chose to accompany him into the wilderness. The news of your heroic, single-handed victory over 14,000 Rakshasas have spread far and wide. Come with me. Sugriv will be pleased to meet you. Like you, he has also lost his wife. Perhaps you can be of assistance to each other." Ram was impressed with Sugriv's emissary. He had the look of a fierce warrior, but he was also eloquent in speech, every bit a fine statesman as any that Ram had met in his father's court. Unknown to the princes, Hanuman was no ordinary Vanara forest dweller. He was the spiritual son of the wind god Vayu. When Hanuman was a child, he saw the sun and mistook it for a fruit. He leapt into the air to grab the orange globe and consume it. This brought him to the attention of Lord Indra himself. To protect the sun, Indra struck down the child with a bolt of lightning. The bolt struck his jaw, leading to the name Hanuman, which means one with a disfigured jaw. Indra's actions infuriated the wind god, and in retaliation, Vayu withdrew the air from the earth and heavens. To appease Vayu, the gods granted Hanuman various powers, including the ability to change size, incredible strength and speed, immunity from fire and water, health, and immortality. However, a mischievous youth with such power caused many problems with the sages, and as a result, they cast a spell which caused him to forget his power, until such time he was reminded of his true potential. Following Hanuman, Ram and Lakshman arrived at Rishyamukh mountain, where Sugriv and his exiled followers resided. The Vanara king, wary at first, listened as Hanuman relayed Ram's plight. At last, the Monkey King spoke. "My brother, Vali, has driven me from my kingdom and taken my wife. If you help me reclaim my throne, I shall aid you in your quest to find Princess Sita." Chapter 20. The Monkey Kings. The princes Vali and Sugriv were brothers. Vali, the elder, was the spiritual son of Indra, the king of the gods, while Sugriv, the younger, was the spiritual son of Surya, the sun god. When their mortal father, Riksharaj, passed away, the throne of Kishkinda was rightfully inherited by Vali. Sugriv, loyal and humble, served under his brother's rule. Like his divine father, Vali was a mighty warrior, fearless, powerful, and relentless in battle. But he was also arrogant, never backing down from a challenge. He had also been blessed by Indra with a necklace that boosted his power in combat. One night, a demon named Mayavi arrived at the gates of Kishkinda, bellowing a challenge to Vali. The king immediately stepped forward to confront the demon, and Sugriv accompanied him, wary of an ambush. But when Mayavi saw both brothers advancing, he turned and fled, seeking refuge in a deep cave. Determined to end the threat of Mayavi once and for all, Vali pursued him into the cave, but ordered Sugriv to remain at the entrance, ensuring that Mayavi would not escape. Sugriv waited for days, his ears straining for any sign of his brother. Then he heard a terrible roar from within, followed by a stream of red gushing out of the cave's mouth. Sugriv heard the monstrous cries of Mayavi echo through the cavern. Heartbroken, believing his brother had been slain, and fearing that the demon would emerge and wreak havoc upon their kingdom, Sugriv sealed the cave entrance with a massive boulder. Upon returning to Kishkinda, he informed the elders and priests of what had transpired. After much persuasion by the elders, he agreed to take up the mantle of kingship. Days passed, and just as Sugriv was settling into his new role, a furious Vali stormed into the palace, his eyes ablaze with fury. The elder brother had not perished. He had slain the demon, but emerged only to find the entrance blocked. After struggling for days to free himself, he returned home to see his brother on the throne. Blinded by rage and betrayal, Vali refused to listen to Sugriv's explanations. Convinced that his brother had deliberately trapped him in the cave to usurp his throne, Vali attacked. With his enhanced strength, he beat Sugriv mercilessly and drove him out of the kingdom. But Vali's vengeance did not end there. He forcibly took Sugriv's wife, Ruma, for himself. Now, exiled and dishonored, Sugriv, accompanied by a few loyal subjects, including his chief advisor Hanuman, wandered the forests until they took refuge at Mount Rishimukha, where Vali dared not follow due to a curse placed upon him. As Sugriv finished his tale, Ram listened intently. The internal politics of Kishkinda were of little concern to him, but one act of Vali filled him with rage. "I agree to help you, Sugriv. The throne of Kishkinda will be yours once more, and then you will help me find Sita." Chapter 21. The Challenge. Sugriv was glad to have Ram's support. However, he knew his brother Vali was a formidable warrior, near undefeatable in battle. Although the legend of Lord Ram had spread far and wide, Sugriv had no idea how true the feats mentioned were. The Monkey King related many tales of Vali's prowess in battle to the brothers. Sensing Sugriv's unease, Lakshmana asked what Ram could do to settle his nerves. Sugriv pointed to a hole in the mighty sal tree that Vali had made with a single shot. "If Ram could split any of these trees, I would be convinced of his power." Without hesitation, Ram released a single arrow which split 7 trees at once and shattered the boulder behind them. The exiled Monkey King was stunned and overjoyed. A now confident Sugriv planned their next move. The next day, Sugriv went to the gates of Kishkinda and bellowed out a challenge to Vali. Ram, still restricted by the terms of his exile to not enter the bounds of any city, stood secluded in the forest some distance away. Vali, hearing the challenge, charged through the gate to confront Sugriv. The brothers engaged in a frenzied battle, but once more Sugriv was overpowered and fled for his life. Sugriv met Ram in the forest. "Why did you not assist me? I was meant to draw him out, and you were meant to eliminate him." "Brother, I apologize," replied Ram. "When you were in battle with Vali, I could not tell you apart, and did not want to accidentally strike you instead." Hanuman came up with a plan. He collected flowers from the area and created a garland for Sugriv. "Now, when you are in battle with your brother, Sri Ram would be able to tell you apart." Sugriv returned to the gates of Kishkinda once more, and again bellowed a challenge to Vali. Again, Vali immediately prepared himself to go battle his brother, but he was stopped by his wife Tara. "Something is wrong. Why has Sugriv returned so soon? Our spies have reported that your brother may be working with the exiled prince of Ayodhya. I do not think you should go." Vali calmed his queen. "Do not fear for me. I cannot back down from a challenge. The prince of Ayodhya is a man of honor. I have no quarrel with him and have nothing to fear. I will end the threat of my brother once and for all." Once more, Vali engaged with his brother in battle, and once more, aided by Lord Indra's necklace, he quickly gained the upper hand. But to his shock, he felt an arrow strike his body with lethal accuracy. He looked at the distance and saw Lord Ram standing with bow in hand. Vali was shocked as he felt his life slipping away. "Why, Lord Ram? My dispute with my brother had nothing to do with you. Why have you struck me down in such a dishonorable manner?" Chapter 22. Vali's Reckoning. Vali looked upon Ram with disbelief as he felt his life slip away. "Why have you done this to me, Lord Ram? My battle with my brother had nothing to do with you." Ram stepped out of the shadows. "I am Ram of the Ikshvaku dynasty. My people have been the keeper of Dharma for generations. My brother Bharat is the king of Ayodhya, and as such, I am his emissary, responsible for maintaining justice in the lands. A younger brother is to be looked upon like a son. His wife, therefore, is to be regarded as a daughter. In forcibly taking your brother's wife, you have broken dharmic law. I have delivered your sentence, Vali." Vali looked upon Ram, and now he saw the divine truth. "I see. My arrogance and lust have blinded me to my own injustice. I have strayed far from the path of righteousness." Vali turned to Sugriv and made peace with him. Sugriv, in turn, promised to honor Vali's dying wish. He would make Vali's son, Angad, the crown prince. Vali handed the necklace of Indra to his son, and he passed on, in peace. Sugriv, now king once more, committed himself to Ram, vowing to help to find Sita. The Monkey King revealed a small pouch of jewelry his Vanaras had found. They had seen a woman in the sky drop it into the forest. When Ram opened it, his eyes filled with tears. "These belong to Sita. It is true, she was taken south, and she is still alive." Lakshman also looked through the jewelry. While he did not recognize her necklace and earrings, he instantly recognized her anklets, the ones he had seen countless times when bowing at her feet. But now the monsoon rains had arrived, and they would have to wait 2 months before they would be able to begin the search. However, 3 months later, Sugriv, enjoying the pleasures of kingship, had not yet begun the search. Lakshman, in a rage, entered the royal chambers and reminded Sugriv of his promise. Shamed by Lakshman's words, Sugriv immediately summoned his 4 most trusted commanders and ordered them to form 4 search parties, each one assigned to explore a different corner of the world. The hunt for Sita had finally begun. Chapter 23. The Search for Sita. Sugriv summoned his Vanaras from far and wide, and they arrived in the thousands, ready to do the bidding of their king. The Monkey King divided the forest people into 4 search parties, each with their own senior leaders, to search in the 4 directions from Kishkinda. He described to each of the parties what they would encounter in their search, and how they should prepare accordingly. Ram was impressed with Sugriv's knowledge of the lands, as the freed Gandhava advised him he would. During Sugriv's exile from Kishkinda, he had travelled extensively and gained vast knowledge of the world. The search party that was assembled for the south had the most trusted commanders: Angad, the son of Vali, the Bear King, Jambavan, and the most selfless and loyal of all, Hanuman. The parties were given 1 month, after which they would return to bring news of their outcome. Ram was most hopeful for the party led by Hanuman. He called him aside and gave him a ring inscribed with his name. "When you find Sita, show her this ring, so that she knows you were sent by me." Hanuman's devotion and determination burned deep. "I will not rest until I find her." A month passed, and the search parties from the north, west, and east returned, weary and empty-handed. However, the party led by Hanuman pressed on, crossing forests, mountains, and rivers, questioning every creature they encountered. Finally, they reached the edge of the southern sea. Before them stretched only endless waves and the distant, empty horizon. Exhausted and disheartened, the Vanaras sat silently on the shore, all except Hanuman, who continued to scan the horizon. Angad spoke first, his voice heavy with defeat. "The month has passed, and we failed. We must return to Kishkinda." But then, just as all hope seemed lost, an aged vulture descended from the sky. It was Sampati, brother of the great Jatayu. Sampati had overheard the search party's talk of Jatayu's sacrifice. Upon learning of his brother's fate, Sampati shed tears of both sorrow and pride. He shared what he had seen with his far-reaching eyes. "From this very shore," Sampati said, "I watched as Ravana, the demon king, flew across the skies, carrying a sorrowful, weeping princess. He took her across the sea to the golden city of Lanka." The members of the search party looked to the horizon. According to Sampati, Lanka was over 800 miles away. How could they possibly reach the princess? Chapter 24. Hanuman's Quest. The Vanaras looked at the horizon in disbelief. The distance to Lanka was 100 yojanas, in modern terms equivalent to approximately 800 miles or 1,200 kilometers. Then, one Vanara spoke out. "I could perhaps swim 50 yojanas. Another responded, "I could swim 100 yojanas, but I would not be able to swim back." Throughout the discussions, Hanuman sat silently on the shore. The Bear King Jambavan approached the mighty warrior. "Why do you not speak, Hanuman?" Hanuman looked up at the elderly Bear King. "I am but a simple monkey. What can I do? This is an impossible task." "But you are no ordinary monkey, Hanuman," replied Jambavan. "You are the son of the wind god Vayu. As a child, you mistook the rising sun for a ripe fruit and leapt up into the air to grab it. To protect the sun, the king of the gods had to strike you down with a thunderbolt, hitting your jaw, Hanu, leading to your name, Hanuman. In a rage, Vayu withdrew the air from the earth and heavens. To appease your father, the gods granted you various gifts. Indra made your body stronger than his thunderbolt. Brahma gave you invincibility against weapons and the power to change form. Agni made you immune to fire, Varuna to the depths of water. Vayu blessed you with unmatched speed, Surya the knowledge of all wisdoms and scriptures, while Yama gave you freedom from death and disease. Kuber gave you contentment beyond worldly desires, and Kama blessed you with eternal self-mastery. Hearing this, the spell of forgetfulness that the sages placed upon him as a mischievous youth dissolved, and Hanuman remembered that he could fly. Hanuman rose to his feet, and to the wonder of the Vanaras, he began to grow in size. With a giant leap, he flew up into the air and departed for Lanka. 3 challenges awaited the great soul on his journey. The first, a golden mountain named Manaka, rose from the sea. "Stay here with me, dear Hanuman. Give up your journey. I will provide you with all the rest and comforts you desire." Hanuman touched the mountain with his chest, and then took off to continue his journey. "I thank you for your offer, Manaka, but my duty to Lord Ram rises above all other desires." Next, Hanuman encountered the serpent Surasa. "My boon from Brahma dictates that only those that enter my mouth may pass, little monkey." The serpent opened its ravenous mouth. Hanuman increased his size to avoid being swallowed up. However, as he increased his size, the serpent Surasa also increased the size of her mouth. Hanuman changed tact. and instead decreased his size. He quickly entered her mouth and exited her ear. I have fulfilled your requirements, Surasa. I will now be on my way. Hanuman's third encounter was with the demoness Samika. She grabbed onto his shadow and pulled him down. Unlike Manaka and Surasa, Samika was truly malevolent. Hanuman turned, and with a vicious blow ended the existence of the demoness. Finally, Hanuman arrived on the shores of Lanka, but yet another journey remained ahead of him, getting to the gates of the Golden City and finding Sita in a realm ruled by demons. Chapter 25. Hanuman in Lanka. Hanuman made his way through the dense forest, passing rivers and streams, and eventually found himself at the gates of the Golden City. Along the way, he was attacked by a spirit that identified itself as the guardian of Lanka. The entity was no match for the son of Vayu. He defeated her and released her from her role. Hanuman waited till nightfall, reduced his size, and silently slipped over the guarded walls. Lanka was a wonder to behold, a majestic city built upon a mountain. The Vanara was astounded by what he saw. The city gleamed with walls and gates made of pure gold, studded with precious gems and adorned with intricate carvings. Palaces with crystal windows and silver staircases towered high, glittering under the moonlight. The inhabitants of Lanka varied greatly in appearance and manner. Some Rakshasas were repulsive in both form and action. However, some were both noble and pious. Some wore fine clothes, while others seemed poverty-stricken. The night sounds of music, laughter, and revelry echoed throughout the city, but the streets, patrolled by a sinister demon guard, was a reminder of the malevolence that lurked beneath. At the heart of Lanka was Ravana's palace, opulent and decadent. Hanuman entered the royal residence. He thought this would be the most likely place that Ravana would keep the princess. Room after room he searched, slipping past guards and shadows. One hall revealed dancers slumped on the floor, goblets of wine spilled beside them. Another chamber overflowed with treasures, gold and gemstones piled like grain. Hanuman paused as he passed through a quiet courtyard. A faint glow came from the smaller residence set apart from the palace. Peering through a window, he saw a Rakshasa dressed in Brahmin robes, meditating before a shrine which included symbols of Lord Ram. His form, though fierce, was calm and dignified. Unknown to Hanuman at this time, this was Vibhishan, the brother of Ravana, who, like his sage father had predicted, was sattvic in nature. Hanuman observed with great interest and then moved on. As he moved deeper into Ravana's palace, he entered a grand inner chamber. The air inside was thick with perfumes and the silence of intoxicated sleep. At the center of the chamber, reclining upon an elevated golden bed adorned with silken sheets and fragrant garlands, lay Ravana. His battle-scarred arms rested at his sides. Around him, dozens of royal women and celestial dancers lay asleep, some draped in fine cloth, others entwined in each other's arms, goblets and garlands scattered across the floor. Based on Lord Ram's description of Mother Sita, this is not where the Princess of Mithila would be, Hanuman thought to himself. Hanuman left the palace, and outside he passed a more secluded area of the royal grounds, a grove fenced off by high walls, its gates sealed and heavily guarded. He scaled the wall in his smallest form and dropped silently into the sanctuary. It was a grove of ashoka trees, with fierce demoness guards patrolling the area. Beneath the largest tree, seated on the bare ground, was a woman in a faded silk sari, her long hair unkempt, her eyes full of sorrow, but unwavering. She was emaciated, but her face still shone with grace. From the shadows of the tree, he whispered softly, "Mother Sita, I have found you." Chapter 26. Sita's Defiance. Hanuman observed the graceful and sorrowful woman seated beneath the great Asoka tree. The sun rose, and with it arrived Ravana, the demon king, followed by a dozen of his consorts. many of them stumbling along, still intoxicated from the excesses of the night before. My beauty, how has your night been? Have my Rakshasas kept you good company? Are you finally ready to end your suffering and embrace the splendor of my bedchamber? The woman remained silent. Your beauty eclipses even the rising sun. My heart desires you more than any woman. My offer stands, princess. Be my queen, and all the riches and luxuries of Lanka shall be yours. The woman placed a blade of grass between her and the Demon King, and looked down at the blade. Repent, Demon King. Return me to my husband and beg his forgiveness. Your lust for me invites your doom, like a moth rushing towards a fire. Ravana's eyes flared with rage. Foolish woman, you have 2 months remaining to accept my offer. Continue to deny me then, and my Rakshasas shall cook you for my breakfast. Ravana stormed off, with his consorts scurrying behind him. The noble woman broke down in tears, and she looked up at the tree branches, contemplating ending her life using the braid of her hair. But then, from the shadows of the Asoka tree, a gentle voice spoke. Princess, my name is Hanuman of the Vanaras. Are you the daughter of Mithila? Sita was startled, and at first suspected a Rakshasa trick. But the radiance of the soulful Vanara melted her heart, and from his hands he produced a small, glinting object, a ring inscribed with Ram's name. Sita's eyes widened. I am the daughter-in-law of Dasharatha, foremost among the kings of the world. I am the daughter of King Janaka of Mithila. I am the wife of Ram, the prince of Ayodhya, and I am Sita, the queen imminent of Ayodhya. Hanuman, with tears of joy, knelt before the princess. Prince Ram grieves for you at every moment. Climb on my back, princess. I will carry you across the ocean and back to Ram. But Sita gently shook her head. I am too weak to cross the ocean, dearest Hanuman, and you will not be able to defend yourself against Ravana's army while carrying me. But beyond this, our time of exile nears its end. In abducting me, Ravana has insulted the honor of Ayodhya and brought shame upon his own kingdom. Ram, as the king imminent of Ayodhya, must himself cross the ocean to restore the honor of Ayodhya and bring an end to the tyranny of the Demon King. Chapter 27. Hanuman's Fury. Hanuman had offered to carry Sita on his back, away from her prison. Sita declined, and outlined her reasons to the noble Vanara. Hanuman would need to take a message back. Ram must himself cross the ocean, conquer this kingdom of evil, and reclaim her with honor. Only then will Ravana's tyranny be shattered and the glory of Dharma upheld. The prince would only have 2 months to achieve this feat, as Ravana had delivered his ultimatum to Sita: submit to his desires, or face her end at the hands of the Demon King's vicious Rakshasas. Sita handed Hanuman an ornament from her hands, and shared a memory which only Ram and her would know of, so that the Vanara would have proof of their meeting. Hanuman's heart was heavy as he left the Ashoka Grove. As the thoughts of Sita's torture at the hands of Ravana and his Rakshasas passed through his mind, he felt a growing rage within him. The mighty Vanara let out a roar that thundered across the city of Lanka. Rakshasi guards rushed towards the sound, weapons drawn. But Hanuman had already grown to his enormous battle form. He tore trees from the palace gardens and used their trunks as weapons, hurling and swinging them with devastating fury. The guards fell, one by one, powerless before his rage. Hearing the commotion, Ravana's generals dispatched a company of elite soldiers. Hanuman leapt atop a marble spire and struck them down as they approached. His movements as swift as the wind, his blows ferocious. Arrows rained upon him, but none could strike true. Demons who dared challenge him were crushed or scattered in terror. Ravana dispatched his most seasoned warriors. One by one they fell. The onslaught of Hanuman could not be checked. He was a storm incarnate, a divine fury unleashed upon the city. Desperate and grief-stricken at the ruin of his forces, Ravana turned to his greatest champion, his son Meghannath, known as Indrajit, the warrior who once defeated even Lord Indra. Indrajit performed a sacred ritual before leaving to face Hanuman. The two warriors engaged in ferocious battle, with neither gaining the upper hand. Finally, Indrajit invoked the mighty Brahmastra and unleashed it upon Hanuman. The Brahmastra formed a shackle which captured the mighty soul. As part of his gifts, Hanuman had invulnerability to Lord Brahma's weapons. But his capture provided an opportunity. The gods would bring him before the Demon King, and Hanuman would come face to face with the tormentor of Sita. Chapter 28. The Trial of Hanuman. Indrajit brought the shackled Vanara before his father in triumph. Hanuman had decimated the Demon King's most senior guards, generals and assassins, including Ravana's own son, Akshaya Kumar. Ravana, seated upon his towering golden throne, glared down at Hanuman with contempt and rage. "Who are you, forest creature? And what is your purpose in trespassing within my kingdom?" The noble soul responded, "I am Hanuman of the Vanaras. I am the emissary of Lord Ram. Ram has formed an alliance with my king Sugriv. The Prince of Ayodhya was living out his exile in peace in the forest with his wife Sita and brother Lakshman. One day, they returned home to find Princess Sita gone. Ram has assisted Sugriv to reclaim his throne, and in return, Sugriv summoned millions of Vanaras to search the earth for Sita. I am one of those in the search party, and I have found the princess here, held captive in your kingdom. Your guards and generals attacked me, and I slew them in self-defense. Now, Demon King, the choice is yours. Release the Princess Sita or face the wrath of Lord Ram, who will have an army of ferocious Vanaras such as myself by his side." Ravana was furious. "Execute the insolent forest dweller," screamed the king. But a calm and benevolent voice spoke out. "Brother, this Vanara is an emissary, an envoy, and it is against the ethos of kings to execute a messenger." Vibhishan, the Sattvic brother of Ravana, continued. "However, the Vanara's actions in the kingdom cannot go unpunished." Ravana was stopped by his brother from carrying out the sentence he truly desired. He thought for a moment. He knew the Vanaras revered their tails with a sense of noble pride. Very well, the forest dweller may keep his life, but set the torch to his tail. Hanuman watched with a silent rage as the guards wrapped his tail with cloth, soaked it with oil, and set fire to it. He looked at the Demon King on his throne. Ravana was gleeful in his sadism. What a pity, Hanuman thought to himself. Ravana might have been a great and noble king if he had not strayed from righteousness and let the darkness consume him. Now, this flame he has given me will be the pyre of Lanka. Chapter 29. The Burning of Lanka. Ravana's guards paraded the bound Vanara through the streets of Lanka. Hanuman's tail, a symbol of honor among the forest dwellers, was set alight at the command of the Demon King. Ravana's intention was to mock and humiliate the envoy of Ram, to make him an example to all those who would oppose his might. But instead of instilling despair, the fire ignited something far more dangerous: Hanuman's rage. The Vanara allowed the demon guards to drag him through the city. He had seen Lanka cloaked in moonlight. Now he studied its secrets in daylight. The people of Lanka reacted in many ways. Some stared in silence. Some laughed and threw insults. A few looked on with sympathy. While the guards jeered and prodded him with spears, Hanuman observed the streets, the positions of the garrisons, the structure of the palace, the barracks of Ravana's generals, the storehouses of weapons. He noted them all. Unknown to the Demon King, Hanuman was no ordinary Vanara. Like Ravana, Hanuman had the blessings of Lord Brahma. But in addition to this, he also had the blessings of a host of other gods. One of these gods was Agni, the Lord of Fire. Hanuman was blessed with immunity to flame, and as such, the blazing tail caused him no harm. Lord Brahma granted him invulnerability to his celestial weapons, which included the Brahmastra that now bound him. When Hanuman had seen enough, he let out a roar. In a single motion, he shattered the Brahmastra bindings. With the strength of the wind, he leapt high into the air, landing atop a towering building. With each leap from rooftop to rooftop, Hanuman's burning tail brushed against the structures. Flames leapt from wall to wall, catching quickly. He struck the armories, the homes of Ravana's advisors, and the palaces of his corrupt ministers. He targeted key installations, spreading fire like a divine reckoning. A gust of wind accelerated the flame, as if the gods themselves carried his fury forward. By evening, Lanka was a city ablaze. Gold ornaments melted and flowed down the marble steps like rivers of molten sunlight. Screams filled the air, as both soldiers and citizens fled in terror. The sky turned crimson with smoke, and the gleaming capital of the Demon King was consumed in flame. Once Hanuman's rage had subsided, a chilling thought crossed his mind. Had his actions endangered Princess Sita? The Vanara raced to the Ashoka grove. There, beneath the protective branches of a flowering tree, he observed Sita, sitting in calm meditation, unharmed, untouched by the chaos. With relief, and with Lanka now dealt a devastating blow, Hanuman headed back towards the ocean. He put out the fire on his tail and leapt into the air to carry his message to Lord Ram. Chapter 30. The Divide. Ravana was shaken by Hanuman's assault on Lanka. He convened a meeting with his advisory council. The council consisted of his generals, ministers, and loyal commanders. This attack on Lanka was a consequence of my actions. I have the wife of the exiled Prince of Ayodhya held captive within my palace. The Vanara came to Lanka in search of her. A murmur swept through the chamber. One of the generals stepped forward. What is the purpose of her imprisonment? Is this retribution for Kar, who fell at Ram's hand? My reasons are much more personal, responded Ravana. When I saw Sita, I was overcome by desire. She is the most beautiful woman I have ever beheld. I brought her back to Lanka to make her my chief queen. But she has refused to enter my bed. I have given her an ultimatum of 2 months to succumb to my will. If not, my Rakshasas will serve her to me as my dinner. What need is there for her consent? If you desire this woman, you may ravage her as you wish. This is your right as king, responded Ravana's general. Many of the other generals and advisors heartily supported this view. But a lone voice of nobility spoke out. Brother, the abduction of this woman to sate your desire is adharmic, against righteousness. I implore you to return the princess to her husband. Make peace with the Prince of Ayodhya before further disaster descends upon our kingdom. Vibhishan, the Sattvic brother of Ravana, stood out like a gleaming source of light within Ravana's depraved council. It is not too late, brother. Repent for your actions. Seek forgiveness from Lord Ram. Bring peace to our kingdom. The gathered members of the council burst out in laughter. Some berated Vibhishan for his cowardice, including his own nephew, Indrajit. Ravana too, soaked in his own arrogance, would not heed the words of his noble brother. This was not the first time Vibhishan had tried to convince his brother to follow the path of Dharma. But now, with the disdain of Ravana's most senior council aimed at him, he saw that all hope was lost within Lanka. And the son of sage Vishrava made his most difficult decision. Chapter 31. Hanuman returns. Sugriv was in talks with Ram and Lakshman when he was approached by a frantic forest keeper. His robes were stained with nectar, his eyes wide with exasperation. "O King Sugriv," he cried, "your Vanaras have descended upon the groves of Madhuvan and drunk every drop of the sacred honey. They are drunk, unruly, and turning the grove into a festival of chaos. They must be punished." But instead of fury, a smile spread across Sugriv's face. He turned to Ram and said, "This is not misconduct. This is celebration. Hanuman's search party has returned, and they bring good news." Hanuman and his search contingent were brought before Sugriv, Ram and Lakshman. "Sita is alive," Hanuman said to Lord Ram. "She is being kept prisoner in the kingdom of Lanka, but she is safe, for now." Hanuman handed Ram the ornament Sita had given him, and related an incident only known between Sita and Ram. "The princess has asked that you cross the ocean to rescue her, and bring an end to the tyranny of the demon king." Ram, overcome by emotion, hugged Hanuman and thanked him dearly. Hanuman turned to Lakshman. "The last time Sita saw you, she spoke words in anger. She hopes that you forgive her and that you support Ram in his mission." Lakshman nodded his head in agreement. Ram then consulted with Hanuman, gathering all the information he could about Lanka, its location, its strengths, its weaknesses. Sugriv once more committed all his resources to the prince. Ram, Lakshman, Sugriv, and the Vanara forces, including Hanuman, numbering in the millions, set off for the southern shore. There they came to the edge of the ocean, the vast waters stretching endlessly. Ram scanned the blue horizon. For 3 days he fasted and meditated before the restless sea. He observed the ebb and tide of the waves, the shape of the shoreline, the golden embankments that appeared and disappeared beneath the ocean tide. After 3 days and nights had passed, Ram unleashed 1,000 flaming arrows into the sea. The ocean god finally emerged, offering guidance. "Build a bridge, O Prince of Ayodhya. I will grant it stability." As plans were drawn and the engineer Nal began calculating the logistics of the bridge, a powerful hooded figure approached the camp. The stranger revealed his face and spoke. "I seek the protection of Lord Ram." Chapter 32. The Bridge. Ram, Lakshman, Sugriv, Jambavan and Hanuman discussed the arrival of the Rakshasa, Vibhishan. Sugriv and Jambavan did not trust the younger brother of Ravana. "He has been sent to spy on us," said Sugriv. Jambavan nodded in agreement. "A brother of the demon king cannot be trusted." Hanuman had an opposing view. "I encountered Vibhishan while I was in Lanka. He was deep in meditation before a shrine, one adorned with symbols of Lord Ram. When Ravana decreed my execution, it was Vibhishan who rose in protest. He urged his brother to act with Dharma. Even in my conversation with Ma Sita, she made mention of a noble brother of the demon king, who made attempts to secure her release. Ram listened closely to the discussion among his allies. Then he ordered Vibhishan to be brought before him. Vibhishan bowed before Lord Ram. "I have resigned my post in my brother's court. I seek refuge at your feet. I can no longer stand by and witness the malevolence that consumes our kingdom." Ram questioned Vibhishan in detail about Lanka's defenses, Ravana's prowess, the movement of his generals, and the power of his demon forces. Vibhishan answered each question with clarity and conviction. Hanuman, who had seen Lanka firsthand, verified many of his claims. The Prince of Ayodhya detected a nobleness in the brother of Ravana. Hearing the sincerity in Vibhishan's words, Ram accepted him as an ally. One who seeks refuge must never be turned away. "This is the way of Dharma," Ram said to the assembled Vanaras. "It is our sacred duty to offer sanctuary." Even Sugriv, though still cautious, bowed to Ram's judgment. Vibhishan was welcomed into the fold, and Ram declared, "When Lanka falls, Vibhishan shall be crowned its rightful king. By this time, the creation of the bridge to Lanka, under the stewardship of the Vanara engineer Nal, was well underway. The Vanaras divided into teams. Some cut and hauled massive tree trunks from the forest. Others quarried and rolled boulders. Long vines and sturdy ropes were used to bind the materials. Still others measured distances and laid the foundation stone across the shifting waters. On the first day, the Vanaras built 14 yojanas of the bridge. On the second day, gaining momentum, they completed 20 yojanas. 21 yojanas on the third day, 22 yojanas on the fourth day, and finally 23 yojanas on the fifth day. In 5 days, the 100 yojana long bridge to Lanka was completed, and the Vanara army, numbering in the millions, crossed the bridge, arriving in Lanka within miles of the city. The siege of Lanka had begun. Chapter 33. Siege. Ravana was outraged. What the Prince of Ayodhya was able to achieve was unprecedented. The demon king had long believed his base of Lanka, surrounded by the sea, made him invulnerable to any enemy attack. Now, Ram had arrived on Lanka's shores with an army of millions. Ravana dispatched senior advisors as spies to infiltrate the Vanara army and learn their secrets. But before they could gather any meaningful intelligence, they were apprehended by Vibhishan, Ravana's estranged brother, who was now a loyal ally of Ram. The spies were brought trembling before Ram. Expecting execution, they cowered before the prince. "There is no need for fear," said Ram. "I do not kill messengers. Observe all you need, then return to your king with a message. Return Sita to me unharmed, and peace shall be restored. I have no desire for war." The mortified spies returned to Ravana and informed him of the fierce army devoted to Lord Ram, whose numbers seemed innumerable. "Give up the princess, my king. I beg you. If not, the war that is imminent will reduce Lanka to dust," advised the spies. But Ravana exploded in fury. "Cowards! I will never return Sita. The fiercest warriors of the 3 worlds stand with me. Let them come. I will crush them beneath my feet." Obsessed with breaking Sita's will, Ravana launched another cruel deception. He created an illusion, a severed head crafted to resemble Ram's, and presented it to Sita, claiming that her beloved had been killed by his assassin in the middle of the night. But Sita, undaunted, wept not for herself. "Then let me die," she cried. "If Ram no longer lives, I wish to follow him into the next world." Sita was heartbroken, but a Rakshasa guarding her, swayed by the purity and nobleness of the princess, assured Sita that Ram was still alive. Still hoping to avoid bloodshed, Ram sent Angad, the mighty son of Vali, as the final envoy of peace. Angad entered Ravana's court with regal defiance and delivered Ram's message. But Ravana, insulted by the boldness of a Vanara prince in his court, ordered Angad to be captured. Angad laughed. With a thunderous roar, he leapt free of the palace guards, shattering pillars and destroying sections of the royal court as he made his escape. With negotiations exhausted and the final insult delivered, Ram gave the command. His forces surrounded the golden city of Lanka. War was now inevitable. Chapter 34. War. The Vanara army surrounded the golden city of Lanka. Towering walls ringed the city, broken by 4 heavily fortified gates, each defended by moats and legions of Rakshasa warriors. Ram divided his army into 4 contingents, each led by one of his most trusted generals: Sugriv, Hanuman, Jambavan, and Nal. At the heart of the formation stood Ram and Lakshmana, ready to lead the final assault. With brute strength, the Vanaras uprooted trees and rolled boulders to fill the moat, creating paths to storm the gates. With thundering roars, Ram's army shattered the reinforced doors, flooding into Lanka. Ravan's army responded with terrifying force. Chariots drawn by demonic steeds, armored warriors wielding advanced weapons, and dark sorcerers emerged from within. The clash was immense, flesh against steel, unbridled fury against methodical warfare. The Vanaras hurled massive stones and tree trunks, ripping through the ranks of Rakshasa warriors. Their ferocity and unpredictability created chaos among the demon ranks. At the heart of the battle, Hanuman was a whirlwind of destruction. Towering over his enemies, he struck down battalions of Rakshasas, splintering their chariots and casting generals to the ground with earth-shattering blows. His roars spread terror among the demon forces. The battle raged on for days, but as hope surged among the Vanaras, darkness fell upon the battlefield. Indrajit, Ravan's son, emerged wielding celestial astras and striking fear into even the boldest Vanara warriors. His mastery of dark magic and divine weapons brought slaughter upon the forest dwellers. Vanaras fell by the thousands. Even the mightiest among them hesitated before the unseen terror. Indrajit unleashed devastating attacks from the shadows, striking unseen and retreating before any could retaliate. Ram and Lakshman charged towards Indrajit. Ram unleashed a relentless barrage of astras, each one crackling with celestial fire, forcing the demon prince to stumble back, overwhelmed by the fury of the attack. The battle between the three warriors lit the battlefield like a storm. But finally, Indrajit invoked the Nagapash, a deadly serpent weapon gifted by the gods, and unleashed a lethal assault on the princes. Mystical serpents formed of astral energy coiled around Ram and Lakshman, binding them, draining their life force, and the princes fell. The sight of Ram and Lakshman, their beloved leaders, lying still upon the earth, sent a shudder through the Vanara ranks. Many faltered, some wept. With a sinister smile, Indrajit withdrew from the battlefield to deliver news of his triumph to his father. Sugriv made his way to the princes, smashing away the demons in his path. The Monkey King was battered and bruised, and choked back tears of sorrow as he looked upon the lifeless sons of Ayodhya. With a defiant roar, Sugriv raised his weapons and shouted to his army, "We do not yield. Sita will be freed, and the Demon King will fall." Chapter 35. Garuda. Ravan was delighted to hear the news of Ram's fall at the hands of his son Indrajit. "Now, Sita will finally accept me," he gleefully declared. On the battlefield, Hanuman and other Vanaras formed a protective ring around the bodies of the fallen princes. Suddenly, a powerful presence approached, causing panic among the Vanaras. Many soldiers began to flee in terror, tripping over each other. Vibhishan, the brother of Ravan, had arrived to examine the princes. The forest dwellers had mistaken him for his nephew Indrajit. "Calm yourself," Sugriv called to his kinsman. "Vibhishan is our ally." Vibhishan was familiar with the Nagapash weapon that Indrajit had used. "The sons of Ayodhya are still alive, for now, but their life force is being drained. There may be herbs that can counteract the poison, but they are rare and difficult to find." As the search began, the battle outside the city raged on. Ravan's remaining generals poured into the fray. Nal and Jambavan fought with valor, unseating Rakshasa commanders by destroying their war beasts and engaging in fierce hand-to-hand combat. Angad rampaged through enemy lines, his strength and fury unmatched by the demon warriors. Ram gained consciousness and was heartbroken at seeing the motionless body of Lakshman next to him. "A more loyal brother could not be found in the three realms," he whispered to Lakshman. Ram turned to Sugriv. "You have been a loyal ally, Sugriv, but you should return to Kishkinda. There should not be any more lives lost." Sugriv counseled Ram, "Do not lose hope. The threat of the Demon King must be ended, and Ma Sita will be rescued. I have committed all my kingdom to ensuring this goal will be met." Then, the Vanara ranks parted to reveal a radiant figure gliding through the smoke of war. Feathers shimmering, eyes burning, a divine soul had completed his long journey. Prince Ram, I am Garuda, the king of the birds. The Ikshvaku dynasty is known far and wide for its adherence to and upholding of Dharma. When I heard you and your brother required assistance, I immediately made my way here. Garuda carefully removed the poisonous serpents with his talons and tended to the wounds of the princes. In the Rakshasa palace, word of the increasing morale of the Vanaras and the possibility that the Ayodhya princes still lived reached Ravana. With the fall of his key generals, Ravana prepared to enter the battlefield himself and put an end to the war once and for all. Chapter 36. Ravana attacks. Ravana exited the eastern gate of Lanka atop his fearsome Pushpaka Vamana and, accompanied by a platoon of his finest warriors, the Demon King unleashed an onslaught that decimated the Vanara army before him. With each astra released from his bow, thousands of forest dwellers perished in agony. Ravana's demon guard cut a path through the brave but hopelessly outmatched enemy as they protected their king. Sugriv charged forward to confront the demon lord. He hurled a massive boulder towards Ravana, but the Rakshasa destroyed it in midair. Ravana then unleashed another astra at Sugriv that hurled the Monkey King into the air and left him on the ground writhing in pain. Hanuman made his way towards Ravana's Vamana. He leapt into the air and delivered a powerful blow to the Demon King's face. Ravana countered with a blow of his own, and then another that sent the noble Hanuman tumbling to the ground. Ravana was staggered by the force of Hanuman's attack, but recovered in time to face an assault from the Ayodhya prince, Lakshmana. Lakshmana unleashed a volley of powerful astras, one of which broke Ravana's bow. The demon lord picked up a spear and hurled it through the air, striking the prince down. Ram was engaged in battle with Ravana's demon army at the southern gate when Vibhishan pointed out the royal carriage of Ravana in the distance. Ram felt his rage growing. For the first time, he had set eyes on the abductor of Sita. He made his way towards Ravana. Hanuman carried the unconscious Lakshmana to safety. When he saw Ram arrive, he offered to carry the prince into battle to offset the advantage Ravana's Vamana gave him, the advantage of striking from a height. Ram accepted the offer and began his assault on the Demon King. And, for the first time, Ravana looked upon Ram. A bolt like lightning struck the Demon King on the chest. Ravana composed himself and launched a counterattack from a fresh bow, releasing hundreds of astras against Ram. But the Prince of Ayodhya neutralized all of his attacks and replied with an even more powerful onslaught. Ravana's bow was shattered once more, and the successive astra shattered his crown. And for the first time in memory, the mighty king of Lanka was forced to retreat. Back in the safety of his palace, a shaken and desperate Ravana thought to himself, "Only one warrior can help me now." He shouted to his royal servants, "Wake Kumbhakarna." Chapter 37. Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna was the younger brother of Ravana. He was a giant who slept for days, weeks, or months at a time. The royal servants entered his underground chambers and began the process of trying to wake the Titan. They blew conches, shouted in his ears, pulled at his hair, pounded on his feet, and eventually brought elephants to trumpet and trample over his body. Finally, Kumbhakarna stirred. Each time he awoke, he was ravenous in his hunger. The royal kitchen had already prepared hundreds of meals, vats of wine, and goblets of blood for him to consume. Once Kumbhakarna had somewhat satiated his hunger, he turned to the royal minister. "Why was I awakened?" he bellowed. "Your brother, the king, urgently wishes to speak to you, my lord," replied the minister. Kumbhakarna arrived at Ravana's palace, shaking the ground as he walked. "My brother, I am glad to see you. I have great need of your assistance," said Ravana. The Demon King related the news of Ram's siege of Lanka and the events that had occurred during his brother's sleep. Kumbhakarna laughed. My brother, you were warned by Vibhishan and myself in this matter. Your lust for the Princess Sita has invited your doom. You are well aware, the Vedas teach us of the Purusharthas, the four aims of life: Kama, pleasure and desire; Artha, wealth and power; Dharma, duty and righteousness; and Moksha, liberation. One must maintain balance between these aims. You allowed Kama to cloud your Dharma. You abandoned righteousness for obsession. Ravana was angered by his brother's scathing remarks. I awakened you so that you can help me and save our kingdom, he snapped. I have no need for lessons of conduct at this time. Kumbhakarna regretted his harsh words, as he sensed his brother's fear and desperation. Of course, you are my eldest brother, and as such, I am always at your service. I will go forth, I will destroy all your enemies, and I will pile their broken bodies at your feet. Do not fear, brother. Kumbhakarna will end the war this day. On the battlefield, the Vanaras, fueled by Ram's victory over Ravana, continued to beat the demon forces back. But then, from the southern gate, crouching beneath the arched entrance too low for his frame, emerged a monstrous figure. The Vanara army looked up in terror as the giant Kumbhakarna looked down upon them, battle mace in hand. Chapter 38. Giant Slayer. Kumbhakarna stormed the battlefield, and with every swipe of his mace, thousands of combatants were wiped out. Vanaras, as well as any Rakshasas foolish enough to stray into his path. They were hurled into the sky like leaves. The Titan pressed forward, destroying all he saw. His hunger insatiable, he seized Vanara warriors by the handful and shoved them into his gaping mouth. The army of forest dwellers fled in terror. But then, Hanuman launched a blistering attack on the giant, hurling trees and boulders with such dazzling speed and force it staggered the Titan. Kumbhakarna was surprised by the power of Hanuman's assault. He launched a spear that struck the noble warrior on the chest, flinging him into the distance. Kumbhakarna continued his bloody rampage. Angad, Sugriv, and the brothers Nal and Neel joined the fray, but their weapons shattered against him. With another swipe of his mace, Kumbhakarna knocked the Monkey King Sugriv unconscious. He then picked up the monarch and headed back towards Lanka, a royal prisoner as his prize. But a devastating attack from Lakshman stopped him in his tracks. Lakshman's onslaught gave Sugriv time to recover. The Monkey King punched and clawed his way free from Kumbhakarna's grip. Enraged, the Rakshasa smashed away Lakshman. But now, Ram had arrived on the scene of the battle. Kumbhakarna initially fended off Ram's attack with his mace, but then the Prince of Ayodhya released the Vayavastra, which sliced off Kumbhakarna's right arm. Enraged, the Rakshasa uprooted a tree trunk with his left arm and charged towards the prince. Ram released another divine arrow, which cut off Kumbhakarna's left arm. The Titan howled in pain, but still he moved forward. Ram then released arrows which cleaved into the giant's legs, toppling him to his knees. And yet, even crippled and bleeding, Kumbhakarna lunged, jaws wide, to devour the prince whole. Ram spoke one final mantra, and the Brahmastra flew, radiant, unstoppable. It struck Kumbhakarna with cosmic force, severing the giant's head from his shoulders. The Titan's corpse crashed to the earth like a falling mountain, dust and silence rising in its wake. News of Kumbhakarna's death reached Ravana's court. Upon hearing of his brother's death, this time the Demon King did not scream. This time he did not rage. This time Ravana wept. Chapter 39. Indrajit returns. Ravana was devastated by the loss of his brother. For the first time in many years, doubt clouded his mind. He questioned his own role in the war. Ramba, the Apsara I once wronged, She has taken incarnation as Sita, so that in this life she may have her vengeance upon me. Ravana's sons, Atikaya, Narantak, Devantak, and Rishira took to the battlefield in an attempt to turn the tide of war. The sons of Ravana were great warriors, but they were no match for the Vanara army commanded by Lord Ram. One by one they fell. The 4 sons of the Demon King were slain within the day. Ravana sank even deeper into grief and depression. But then a voice called out to him from the shadows, "Father, do not despair." Indrajit had finally recovered from the strain of his first encounter with the Ayodhya princes. Indrajit, the son who had once conquered the king of the gods himself, Lord Indra, the only warrior who had defeated Lord Ram and Prince Lakshmana on the battlefield. Ravana's eyes gleamed with renewed hope. "My son, the princes still live. They have slain your brothers and your uncle Kumbhakarna. Only you can save our kingdom now." Indrajit donned his armor and went out into the battlefield with a contingent of Lanka's most elite warriors. He arranged his weapons on the ground and spoke ancient mantras and performed meticulous rituals. Smoke from his offerings curled into the air as he invoked blessings from dark powers and celestial forces alike. When the last mantra was uttered, Indrajit vanished from sight, concealed in a cloak of illusion, his presence swallowed by the darkness. The Vanara army suddenly found themselves under a merciless attack. Arrows rained down from the sky, cutting the valiant army down by the hundreds. Panic rippled through the army as they realized, just as their previous encounter with him, they could not see their attacker. Indrajit was everywhere and nowhere, a phantom of death who struck and vanished in the blink of an eye. Ram and Lakshman tried desperately to defend the army and fight back, launching divine arrows against an unseen enemy. But even the valiant princes were overwhelmed by the invisible assassin's relentless assault and succumbed to their many wounds. With the Vanara army shattered and its champions fallen, Indrajit, drained, once more withdrew, his mission complete for now. He returned to the royal palace, a shadow vanishing into the darkness. Of all the senior Vanara commanders, only Hanuman and Vibhishan remained standing. Through the haze of smoke and the cries of the dying, Jambavan, the great bear king, weakly called out, "Hanuman, only you can save us now." Chapter 40. The Mountain. Jambavan was grievously injured, as were vast numbers of the Vanara army, including their greatest champions, Lord Ram and Prince Lakshman. Their senior commanders, Sugriv, Nal, Neel, and Angad, also lay among the many fallen champions. Using the deadly Brahmastra, the demon prince Indrajit had delivered yet another devastating blow to the army of forest dwellers. Jambavan, the bear king, whispered, "Hanuman, there are herbs found on the mountains of the Himalayas that may yet save us. In the midst of Mount Rishaba and Kailasa, you will see a blazing and brilliant herbal mountain. Here you will find Sanjeevani, capable of restoring the dead to life, Vishal Yakarani, capable of extracting weapons and healing all wounds inflicted by weapons, Suva Nakarani, which restores the body to its original complexion, and Sandani, the great herb capable of joining severed limbs or fractured bone. Bring us those herbs with haste, son of Vayu. Our lives depend upon you alone." Hanuman understood the severity of the situation and the precious time remaining. He grew in size, towering like a mountain. With a thunderous leap, he soared into the air, crossing rivers, forests, and villages. At last, the Himalayas rose before him, majestic and eternal, their peaks crowned with snow. But once he arrived at the herbal mountain, Hanuman could not identify the specific herbs that Jambavan had told him about. The sacred herbs shimmered faintly, hidden among countless plants, and though his strength was unmatched, his knowledge of the healing arts was not. And so, once more, Hanuman grew in size, shaking the mountain beneath his feet. Digging his colossal hands into the earth, he wrenched the very peak from its roots. Trees, rocks, and soil clung to the mountain as he heaved it into the air. Back in Lanka, despair hung over the Vanara army. The wounded groaned in agony, and the healers worked tirelessly with the little resources they had left. But then, a Vanara warrior, his eyes wide, pointed to the horizon. "Look, Hanuman has returned." The Vanaras erupted in disbelief and joy. The great soul Hanuman had achieved the unthinkable. He had moved a mountain to save his people. Hanuman placed the mountain gently upon the ground. The great healer Sushen and his attendants rushed forward, plucking the radiant herbs that glowed with divine light. As the medicines were ground and their essence administered, the miracle unfolded. Wounds closed, broken bones mended, and the fallen stirred back to life. One by one, the champions rose again. Jambavan, Sugriv, Angad, Nal, Neel, Lakshman, and at last, Ram himself. The army that had been crushed now stood renewed. The war was not yet over, but hope had returned, and in that moment, Lanka trembled once more. Chapter 41. The Vanaras strike back. Sugriv, the Monkey King, freshly recovered from his wounds, gathered a contingent of his Vanara warriors. In the midst of the night, they entered the city of Lanka, and like Hanuman before them, set fire to key strategic and military installations. The Rakshasas in the city fled from the flaming buildings in terror. Confusion and mayhem reigned in Lanka, with no clue of where the next Vanara strike may occur. Within hours, weapons, food stores, and vital supplies lay reduced to ashes. The people of Lanka, devastated, placed the blame for their predicament not on Prince Rama, who had placed their city under siege, but on their king's sister, Surpanakha, who had attempted to seduce the prince, and on the demon king himself, who had abducted the prince's wife. Over the next few days, a distraught and desperate Ravana sent the sons of his brothers Kumbhakana and Ka into battle. Like the generals and the sons of Ravana before them, they were all slain on the battlefield, most of them by the great soul Hanuman himself. The son of Vayu remained an elemental force in the war, a ferocious storm incarnate. Meanwhile, Ram, leading a Vanara contingent of his own, destroyed vast battalions of Lanka's army. The prince was so magnificent in battle that at times warriors of both sides stopped to witness the spectacle of the greatest warrior of their age. His valiance and bravery cementing a place in legend, Ram would be the inspiration for the greatest of warriors in the millennia to come. Ravana turned once more to the son who had never failed him, Indrajit. Twice before, Indrajit had brought victory where all others had failed. Now, he prepared again, donning his armor and entering the battlefield with his royal guard. Once more, Indrajit's sorcery made it impossible to detect where his attacks emanated from. But this time, the demon prince employed new depths of cruelty. After vanishing into shadow, he re-entered the battlefield through another gate, his chariot thundering forward. From a distance, the Vanaras saw him dragging a figure by the hair, a woman, her form delicate, her garments torn. Hanuman's heart clenched in terror. "Ma Sita," he cried, his voice breaking with anguish. Indrajit struck his captive repeatedly. An enraged Hanuman thundered towards the chariot, but Indrajit's elite guard held him at bay. And then, to the horror of the Vanara warriors, Indrajit raised his sword high, and before their disbelieving eyes, he plunged the blade through his helpless captive's body. Chapter 42. The Nikumbila Yagnya. The Vanaras were crushed. They had watched in horror and disbelief as Indrajit slew Princess Sita. Then, the demon prince, along with his royal guard and his victim's lifeless body, vanished into darkness. A heartbroken Hanuman made his way to the eastern gate to deliver the devastating news to Lord Ram. Hanuman choked out his words. All is lost, my lord. The son of Ravana has slain Ma Sita. Ram collapsed to the ground upon hearing the news. Overcome by grief, tears streamed down the prince's face. What reason was there to fight now? Without Sita, life itself seemed emptied of purpose. His brother Lakshman, enraged by the unfairness of it all, exclaimed, "What good is following the path of Dharma when these wicked souls trample their way through this poor earth, their evil unpunished?" Vibhishan, the brother of the demon king, made his way through the grieving Vanaras to the royal princes. He had heard news of the tragedy witnessed by the Vanaras at the western gate. "My lord, you must keep faith." "I know, my brother. Ravana would not allow such a fate to befall the princess. This must be some trick of Indrajit. The demon prince is known for his mastery of illusion." But what purpose would this serve? Vibhishan mused to himself. He looked around. As the news of Sita's death spread among the troops, a wave of despair descended upon the battleground. All desire to fight on was lost. Suddenly, realization dawned on him. This is a distraction. Indrajit seeks to shatter our will while he steals away into the forest. He intends to perform the Nekumbila Yagnya, the unholy sacrifice. If it is completed, he will become invincible in battle. We must stop him before it's too late. As demon reinforcements poured out from the gates of Lanka, Lakshman stepped forward with fire in his eyes. "Brother, you must remain here. Our warriors need your strength to steady them, to remind them why we fight. Sita still lives, hidden within the city. I will lead a force into the jungle, with Hanuman and Vibhishan by my side. We will hunt down Indrajit and end his evil once and for all." Ram was impressed by the resolve of his younger brother and agreed. The contingent set off, guided through the dense jungle by Vibhishan. After a lengthy journey, they arrived at the Nekumbila Grove. A black plume of smoke rose in the air. There, under a banyan tree, sat Indrajit, surrounded by his royal guard, as the earth trembled with chanting and fire. Indrajit had already begun his dark ritual. Chapter 43. Indrajit's Last Stand. Indrajit sensed the arrival of intruders. He looked out into the distance and saw the Vanara contingent led by Lakshman, Hanuman, and, at the forefront, his uncle Vibhishan. The demon prince's ritual was incomplete, but already the power of the Nekumbila Yagnya coursed through his veins, filling him with a fiery rage. He shouted out to his uncle, "Traitor, you are the brother of the king of Lanka, my father's brother. You stand here with these infidels. You have led them here, to this sacred place. You betray kingdom and family." Vibhishan felt the venom in his nephew's words, and he calmly responded, "I warned your father. Though Ravana has many virtues, his evil has long outweighed them. He has slaughtered holy men and seized what was not his. He has treated women with cruelty and violence, taking whomever he fancied by force, until Lord Brahma's curse chained his lust. Still, his arrogance, vanity, and hunger for power continue to bring suffering to all. You, Indrajit, unfortunately, share all of your father's worst attributes. Lakshman, the prince of Ayodhya, will now bring an end to your evil." Indrajit, furious, grabbed his bow. The Rakshasa royal guard charged forward, clashing with Hanuman and the brave Vanara warriors, while Lakshman and Indrajit exchanged divine and demonic astras between them. The battle between the demon prince and the prince of Ayodhya raged on for hours. For every astra Indrajit released, Lakshman countered with equal force. The two princes fought through exhaustion, both experiencing grievous wounds, but neither yielding. Then, with a roar, Indrajit vanished into darkness, reappearing moments later on a fearsome chariot. Attacking with the strategic advantage of height, Indrajit launched his attack on both Lakshman and his uncle Vibhishan. Up till now, Vibhishan had restrained himself, unwilling to raise arms against his own nephew, but Indrajit's attack sent him into a fury. He seized a massive mace and hurled it through the air, striking the chariot with such force that it sent the demon prince crashing to the earth. Indrajit rose and continued his attack. The force of his assault pushed Lakshman back, but the Prince of Ayodhya steadied himself. Reaching to his quiver, he drew forth another astra. He whispered the sacred mantra, took aim, and released the blazing missile. This time, the astra struck true, and Indrajit, the Prince of Lanka, the one who had defeated the King of the Gods, lay lifeless on the ground. His final downfall brought about by the Indrastra, Lord Indra's astra. Chapter 44. Ravana returns. Ravana was grief-stricken over the death of his son, Indrajit. The crown prince was gone. Ravana lamented, "Indrajit, you who have defeated Lord Indra, the king of the gods, how could a mere mortal strike you down? How could you leave this kingdom? My son, you should have performed my last rites. Now, instead, I must perform them for you." Ravana's grief then turned to fury. He considered slaying Sita in retaliation for his son's death, but was stopped by a royal advisor. News of the demon prince's death spread through Lanka. Some reacted with anger and panic, but many stoically blamed their circumstances on the actions of Surpanakha, the demon king's sister, and on Ravana, the demon king himself. Ram's reputation as that of a noble leader, guided by righteousness and concerned with the welfare of all, reached even within the gates of Lanka. Ravana gave the orders for all Rakshasas capable of bearing arms to join the military ranks. At dawn, Ravana readied himself for battle and mounted his royal war chariot. His remaining generals had assembled a fresh and formidable army ready for battle. The demon king thundered onto the battlefield, launching astras that decimated Vanaras soldiers by the thousands. Ravana and Ram converged on the battlefield and launched a spectacular array of astras against each other. Divine and demonic astras lit the sky. Streams of light, fire, and shadow collided, shaking the heavens. The battle between the Prince of Ayodhya and the Demon King transfixed both armies. Soldiers froze as though spellbound, enthralled by the spectacular display of skill shown by both warriors. The chariot that Ravana stood upon gave him the strategic advantage of height over the Ayodhya prince. Vibhishan, the Demon King's brother, familiar with the construction of Rakshasa weapons of war, struck and critically damaged the royal chariot, forcing Ravana to the ground. The sight of his traitorous brother filled Ravana with rage. He grabbed a lance from the chariot wreckage. The Demon King launched the lethal spear into the air, aiming at Vibhishan. But, at the last moment, Vibhishan was pushed aside by the Ayodhya prince Lakshman. The lance hit Lakshman on the chest, and the valiant prince fell to the ground, deathly still. Chapter 45. The Fall of the Demon King. Ravana's chariot lay in ruins. His weapon, aimed at Vibhishan, had struck Lakshman instead. The Demon King made a strategic retreat to prepare a new battle chariot. A distraught Ram kneeled beside his brother. Susen, the Vanara medic, carefully tended to the Ayodhya prince's wounds. He turned to Hanuman. "The sacred herbs you brought us before, we need them once more. Only they can save the prince." Hanuman nodded with understanding, and once more made the perilous journey to the Himalayas to retrieve the medicinal herbs. Lord Indra, the king of the gods, had observed the battle between Ram and Ravana with great interest. He noted the advantage that Ravana's chariot provided to the Demon King, and sent his own chariot and charioteer to Lanka to aid Lord Ram. Ravana returned to the battlefield a second time, and this time engaged in a more equally matched exchange of attack with the Ayodhya prince. Both warriors incurring grievous wounds. Lord Ram shouted out to Ravana, "Coward, you lured me away by deceit so that you could abduct Sita without facing me in battle. Now, you have nowhere to hide. I will bring an end to your reign of terror once and for all. Suddenly, Ravan's charioteer steered the vehicle back to the palace. "Fool, what are you doing?" roared Ravan. The charioteer replied, "My lord, you are injured, and the healers need to tend to your wounds. The chariot has also incurred damage and will need to be repaired." Ravan's retreat gave Ram time to reflect. He was both emotionally and physically drained. He recalled the sacred teachings of sage Agastya, the Aditya Hridayam, the hymn to the sun. Kneeling, Ram raised his arms and chanted the verses that called upon the eternal light of Surya. Power returned once more to his body, his spirit ablaze with divine energy. Meanwhile, Ravan's healers tended to his wounds. Ravan considered the chain of events that led him to this moment. He had long realized his grave mistake when asking for his boon from Lord Brahma. He asked for invincibility against gods, demons, and spirits. However, in his arrogance, he ignored the frail humans who he thought too weak to pose any threat to him. Now, a human prince stood ready to bring about his downfall. Ravan returned to the battlefield a third time, and once more engaged in a furious and relentless battle with the mortal prince. Ram was perplexed. His astras that had felled powerful warriors and demons had no substantial impact on the Demon King. For each head of Ravan he cut off, another grew in its place. Finally, he turned to Vibhishan with a questioning gaze. Ravan's brother explained the manifestation of Lord Brahma's boon as an elixir of immortality that Ravan stored in his navel. Ram understood what he needed to do. He released a fire astra towards Ravan's navel that dried the elixir. Then, Ram lifted his bow once more and invoked the Brahmastra, Lord Brahma's astra, the most powerful of all divine weapons. Ram whispered the sacred mantra and shot it towards Ravan's chest. This time, the astra struck true. It hit Ravan like a thunderbolt, going straight through the king of Lanka. Before the Demon King's body hit the ground, his spirit had departed. Chapter 46. Reunion. Queen Mandodari stepped out onto the battlefield. The head queen among Ravan's many wives fell to her knees beside her husband's fallen body. "My king, you could have ruled the three worlds with wisdom and compassion, but your desires consumed you. You have brought this ruin upon yourself and our kingdom." Ram asked Vibhishan to perform the last rites for Ravan. Vibhishan was reluctant. "He was my brother, but he was also my enemy. Indeed, he was the enemy of the whole world." At Ram's insistence, he relented. "Your brother had many vices, but he was also a great warrior and fought valiantly. He has earned his passage to the next world with dignity." Ram looked around at the gathering crowds. The time had come to reunite with Sita, the wife for whom he had crossed the sea and fought the Demon King. But he was now lost in thought. The time of their exile was close to completion. Bharat waited outside the city of Ayodhya, living an ascetic life in solidarity with his brother and caretaking the duties of kingship until Ram's return. Imminently, Ram would be crowned rightful king of Ayodhya, and Sita, the queen. He looked upon the citizens gathered with sorrow as he realized what he must do. For now, his exile still stood, and by the terms of the exile, he could not enter any city. He asked Hanuman to anoint Vibhishan as king of Lanka, and then asked Vibhishan to bring Sita outside the city. But, he instructed, before she comes out, she must take a bath and put on royal clothes and jewels. Vibhishan was confused by the request, but he agreed. When he delivered the news to Sita, she was surprised and upset. "But I want to see Ram now. Why delay?" Vibhishan was firm in Ram's request, and the royal handmaidens assisted Sita in readying herself. Sita arrived at the battlefield in a royal chariot. The crowd of Vanaras and Rakshasas marveled at her beauty. Sita's eyes filled with tears as she finally saw her husband. Ram sent Lakshman to request Sita's descent from the chariot and for her to walk toward him. Lakshman was puzzled by the request, but did as he was asked. Sita once more was surprised. However, she did as requested. The curious crowds moved further in. Vibhishan tried to pull the crowd back, but Ram stopped him. "Let them see and let them listen," he said. Once Sita arrived in front of Ram, she was addressed. "My lady, know that I fought this war not for you, but to uphold the honor of the Ikshvaku dynasty and the way of Dharma. Your beauty is unparalleled. Surely no man can resist your allure. You have lived for a year in the house of the Demon King, and your purity is now in question. If you so choose, you are free to go your own way and choose another as your husband. But if you wish to have the honor of the Ikshvaku lineage restored, you must prove your worthiness before all." Chapter 47. Trial by Fire. Sita was shocked by the allegations. For close to a year, she was imprisoned in the Ashoka Grove until she was willing to submit to Ravana's desires. She endured physical and psychological torture from Ravana's demon servants and the Demon King himself. Every day had been a battle of will and faith. Yet now, after all her suffering, she stood accused by her own husband. Shock and confusion gave way to fury. "You should have advised on your doubts when you sent Hanuman or Vibhishan. I would have spared you this war, spared your allies their pain and suffering," replied Sita. "When Hanuman found me in the Ashoka Grove, I was ready to end my life rather than submit to Ravana's desires. Your accusations dishonor me. I was taken by force, not choice. My heart and mind have never strayed." Then her tone hardened. "Lakshman," she called, "build me a pyre of fire. I will prove my honor before heaven and earth." Lakshman was furious. He turned to Ram with a questioning gaze, but Ram simply motioned for him to do as told. Lakshman obeyed and gathered the material to build the pyre, and then proceeded to ignite the flame. The crowds moved further in, gripped by confusion and fear. In the heavens, the gods themselves gathered to observe the curious play at hand in the mortal plane. None could comprehend the purpose of the prince's actions. The love between Rama and Sita was known across the three worlds, yet now it seemed he would let her perish. Sita stood before the raging flame. She raised her voice so that all could hear. "If ever I have wavered in thought, word, or deed, if ever I have strayed from the path of Dharma, then let these flames consume me." The crowd gathered shouted out in horror as the princess of Mithila stepped into the flames. And then, for what seemed like an eternity, the gathered spectators remained in shocked silence. Suddenly, in a burst of flames, Agni Dev, the Lord of Fire, appeared from the pyre, and before him, Sita, untouched by the flames. "Lord Ram," Agni declared, "Princess Sita is pure, faultless in thought, word, and deed. Never again shall anyone doubt the princess of Mithila." Ram smiled. "Lord Agni, there was never doubt in my mind. As the rays of the sun cannot be separated from the sun itself, so too can Ram not be parted from Sita. But the queen of Ayodhya must be beyond reproach, not only before men, but before the gods themselves. Let all bear witness to Sita's righteousness." Chapter 48. Return to Ayodhya. Ram and Sita were finally reunited. Vibhishan offered the comforts of his kingdom to them. But Ram's 14-year exile was now close to an end. They would need to return home. The journey to Ayodhya was long, but Vibhishan prepared and offered them the Pushpak Vaman, the celestial chariot once belonging to Kuber, which Ravana had seized when he conquered Lanka. This vehicle could traverse vast distances in mere hours. Ram gratefully accepted the offer and asked Vibhishan to reward the brave Vanaras who had fought to end Ravan's tyranny. Ram, Sita and Lakshmana boarded the Vamana, accompanied by Hanuman, Sugriv and other valiant Vanara warriors. Vibhishan too joined the journey, wishing to personally see Ram safely home. Along the way, Ram pointed out to Sita the place he felled Ravan, the Nal Setu, the places they camped on their journey to rescue her, and Kishkinda, the kingdom of Sugriv. Sita asked for the Pushpak to descend in Kishkinda so that the queens of Sugriv's palace could accompany them. Before reaching Ayodhya, Ram stopped briefly at the hermitage of sage Bharadwaj to obtain his blessing. Ram sent Hanuman ahead to inform his brother Bharat of their return. For 14 years, Bharat had ruled Ayodhya as custodian, living a life of ascetic devotion. When Hanuman delivered the news of Ram's imminent return, Bharat cried tears of joy. He listened with pride as the Vanara recounted the great deeds of Ram during his exile, the slaying of demons, the alliance with Sugriv, and the overthrow of the demon king. It was night when Ram and Sita returned to Ayodhya, and the citizens lit lamps in loving devotion to light the way home. Ram and Sita were crowned king and queen in a majestic ceremony in Ayodhya. The kingdom entered a golden age of peace and prosperity for many years thereafter. Ram's name was etched in history as one of the greatest kings of all time, and the love story of Ram and Sita lived on in every devotee's heart. Epilogue 1. The gods were deeply upset by Ravana's destruction upon the mortal plane, and the threat he posed even to the heavens. They called upon Lord Vishnu to advise them. Lord Vishnu noted that Ravan, after performing exceptional penance for his boon, had asked Lord Brahma to give him invincibility against gods, demons, spirits, and beasts. But in his arrogance, he had not asked for invincibility against humans, thinking them insignificant. Lord Vishnu proposed a plan. I will incarnate on the mortal plane as a mere human. In this form, I shall bear the frailty of human life. I will know hunger, pain, and doubt. In this form, I will be devoid of all my celestial powers, ignorant even of my own divinity. And in this form, I will defeat the Demon King. Epilogue 2. Parvati and Lord Shiva were in conversation on Mount Kailash. Mother Parvati noted that Lord Vishnu had decided to incarnate upon the mortal plane as a human to battle the powerful Demon King. Ravan is your devotee. He has performed great penance in your name, and as a result, you gifted him powerful weapons. Would Lord Vishnu be able to defeat the Demon King in the form of a mere mortal? This would seem unlikely, mused Lord Shiva. Ravan has indeed been a devout disciple, but his actions, guided by his ego, have created much suffering. Perhaps there is something I could do. After some thought, Lord Shiva spoke again. I shall send forth a spark of my own being, a fragment of Rudra's might infused into a form on the mortal plane. This form shall be as unstoppable as the wind, an elemental force of nature, ferocious yet noble. And in this form, I will aid Lord Vishnu. Epilogue 3. Sage Valmiki and Sage Narad were in deep discussion. Valmiki mused, if there was a person that represented all the divine virtues, such as truth, compassion, courage, and Dharma, in perfect harmony. Sage Narada said there was indeed such a person, and he related to Sage Valmiki the history of the great King Ram. His life was a journey of love, duty, and sacrifice. the victory of light over darkness. Valmiki listened in awe as Narada recounted the tale. Moved by its grandeur, Valmiki vowed, "Then let the world never forget the story. I shall compose his journey in verses that will live for all time. The journey of Lord Ram. I will call it the Ramayana." Thank you for watching so far. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're new here, please subscribe. This will ensure that more people can find this resource. Click the notification button so that you can be the first to know about new uploads. And please do comment below. I'll do my best to reply to any questions. Thank you.